Of ever doing what? I'm her co-chair.
Yeah. Oh, and there's my good buddy. Hey, my front porch. December. You were last year. She's great. She's a real good one.
Should I ask these guys?
Yeah, she's, yes. Husband. I read these. These were all very interesting too. Do you know the name of your
Mine.
yeah.
Separated? Because, you know, the university was at the youth center, right?
No, because there's so.
You're in. A whole board. All volunteer.
Recording in progress.
Everybody's nice. I hope everybody's well today, and we'll get this meeting going here. We've got a pretty good-sized agenda today, and we're happy to hear from all of you, and we're happy that all of you are here, to be with us and share in this day. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order, please. Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Coral Gables Historic Preservation Board. We are residents of Coral Gables and charged with the preservation and protection of historic or architecturally worthy buildings, structures, sites, neighborhoods, and artifacts which impart a distinctive historical heritage to our city. The board is comprised of 9 members, 7 of whom are appointed by the commission, 1 by the city manager, and the 9th is selected by the board and confirmed by the commission. 5 members of the board constitute a quorum, and 5 affirmative votes are necessary for the adoption of any motion. Any person who acts as a lobbyist pursuant to the City of Coral Gables Ordinance 2006-11 must register with the city clerk prior to engaging in lobbying activities or presentations before city staff, boards, committees, and/or the city commission. A copy of the ordinance is available in the office of the city clerk. Failure to register and provide proof of registration shall prohibit your ability to present to the Historic Preservation Board on applications under consideration this afternoon. A lobbyist is defined as an individual, corporation, partnership, or other legal entity employed or retained, whether paid or not, by a principal who seeks to encourage the approval, disapproval, adoption, repeal, passage, defeat, or modifications of any ordinance, resolution, action, or decision of any city commissioner, any action, decision, recommendations of the city manager, any city board or committee, including but not limited to quasi-judicial advisory board, trust, authority, or council, or any action, decision, or recommendation of city personnel during the time period of the entire decision-making process on the action, decision, or recommendation which foreseeably will be heard or reviewed by the city commission or a city board or committee, including but not limited to quasi-judicial, advisory board, trust, authority, or council. Presentations made to this board are subject to the city's False Claims Ordinance, Chapter 39 of the City of Coral Gables City Code. I now officially call the City of Coral Gables Historic Preservation Board meeting of October 16, 2025, and I'm going to call it 4:05 p.m. today. Present today are, we have our staff here. Anna Pernis is our head of staff for the Historic Preservation Board and the Cultural Board of the city. I think we've got our attorney over here, Ms. Throckmorton, is hiding back over here. And then we have, on my left, we have Mr. Silva, Ms. Janae, let's see, Ms. Ebert, and
Shield.
I'm losing it here. Yeah. And then over here, we have Mr. Garcia Pons, a lady who's been around longer than I can remember,
Thank you,
Ms.
I
Spain,
appreciate that.
Ms. Rolando, and Ms. Alvarez, all members of our board. We don't have any distinguished members in the group except all of you. The next item, let's see, is the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on September 22nd. They were not included, so we're not going to have them. So there's no changes or corrections, and there's no need for a motion. Okay, ex parte communications. Please be advised that this board is a quasi-judicial board, and the items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature, which requires board members to disclose all ex parte communications. An ex parte communication is defined as any contact, communication, conversation, correspondence, memorandum, or other written or verbal communication that takes place outside a public hearing between a member of the public and a member of a quasi-judicial board regarding matters to be heard by the quasi-judicial board. If anyone has made any contact with a board member, when the issue comes before the board, the member must state on the record the existence of the ex parte communication, the party who originated the communication, and whether the communication will affect the board member's ability to impartially consider the evidence to be presented regarding the matter. In terms of our agenda, do we have any deferrals?
Good afternoon. I did receive 2 requests for deferrals for 1506 Lisbon Street and 547 Alcazar Avenue.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to have a swearing in, please. For all people who wish to speak today, please stand and raise your hand to be sworn in. If you're not sworn in now, you're not going to be speaking later.
Which Alcazar?
547.
Oh,
There you
that
go.
one. The one.
Go for it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can we verify if there's anyone on Zoom waiting to be sworn in?
2509. I'm sorry.
Can we verify if there's anybody on Zoom to be sworn in?
I got too much stuff here. Just one moment, please.
Might be able to just take this one.
Elizabeth, can you hear me? Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, thank you.
Are we all sworn in? Very good. All right, we're going to start our first case here with a local designation. It is case file LDH 2025-008 and COA, which is Certificate of Approval, SP 2025-021. And this is for the consideration of the local historic designation of the property at 607 University Drive, legally described as lots 9 and 10, block 139, Coral Gables Country Club, section part 6. Okay, plat book 20, page 1,
Property at
Public Records,
607
Miami-Dade
University
County.
Drive.
The
Is before
applicant, the applicant is also requesting the issuance of an accelerated special certificate of appropriateness and design approval for additions and alterations to the residence and site work. Staff, would you like to make a presentation on this?
Can you all hear me? Hi, good afternoon, Elizabeth Ewing, Historic Preservation Coordinator. And the following presentation is a brief summary of the historic designation report that was prepared by staff. Can you please play the PowerPoint? Thank you.
The property at 607 University Drive is before you for consideration for designation as a local historic landmark. It is the result of a historic significance determination application that was submitted by the owner. The neoclassical single-family home was designed by Upton Ewing for Dr. Odin Schaefer in 1939. As per Article 8, Section 8-103 of the Coral Gables Zoning Code, criteria for designation of historic landmarks, a local historic landmark must have significant character, interest, or value as part of the historical, cultural, archaeological, aesthetic, or architectural heritage of the city, state, or nation. For designation, a property must meet one of the criteria outlined in the code. 607 University Drive is eligible as a local historic landmark based on 3 criteria. Historical cultural significance, criteria 4. It exemplifies the historical, cultural, political, economic, or social trends of the community. Architectural significance, criteria 1. It portrays the environment in an era of history characterized by one or more distinctive architectural style. And criteria 2. It embodies those distinguishing characteristics of an architectural style or period or method of construction. 607 University Drive is located on the southwest corner of University Drive, Segovia Street, and Escobar Avenue, just south of the Coral Gables Library, in Country Club Section Part 6. The property has a single-family residence with an attached garage and a pool. Coral Gables was originally conceived as a suburb of Miami and attracted investors from across the nation during the South Florida real estate boom of the 1920s. Founder George Merrick drew upon the Garden City and City Beautiful movements of the 19th and early 20th century to create his vision for a fully conceived Mediterranean-inspired city, which is now considered one of the first modern planned communities in the United States. The city's developmental history is divided into 3 major historical periods. 607 University Drive was built during the second historical phase when few homes were built, and Coral Gables began to embrace contemporary styles that followed national trends. Coral Gables' initial development was predominantly around Merrick's family's Coral Gables plantation in Section A. Lots in Section A, B, and C were offered for sale in 1921 and 22. Most early construction was concentrated north of and in the direct vicinity of the Granada Golf Course. In the mid-1920s, Merrick announced plans for a premier hotel and 18-hole championship golf course in Section H. The primarily undeveloped sections of G, H, and I were reworked to accommodate the large $10 million Biltmore complex. These 3 sections were divided into 6 sections and renamed Country Club Sections Parts 1 through 6. As a higher-end area. The home at 607 University Drive was built in this area in Country Club Section Part 6, which is outlined here in blue. With the replatting of this area, new scenic boulevards were laid out, which included Anastasia Avenue, Segovia Street, and Ocean Beach Drive, to aid in the rebranding of the area. Ocean Beach Drive was laid out as the prominent and curving boulevard passing through the heart of Country Club Section 6. It was later renamed University Drive. The Miami Biltmore Golf Course opened January 1926. Rapid growth of the Country Club sections was anticipated. Notable undertakings meant to kick off Section 6, where the home at 711 University Drive at the northwest corner of the intersection of Palmerito Street and University Drive for George Merrick's sister Ethel and her husband Edward Bishop. The initial construction of the French Normandy Village and the Anastasia Hotel, which started construction in 1925 and was completed in 1926 by the University of Miami. However, in September 1926, the Miami area was hit with a devastating hurricane that was followed closely by the dire downturn of the national economy. This had a drastic impact on new construction. As seen here, the precipitous dollar value decline of the permits issued in the late 1920s and the slow recovery during the 1930s until 1942, at which time all efforts and materials were diverted to war endeavors. As seen here, in the late 1930s, the building industry began to regain some footing with the assistance of New Deal relief measures. But by this time, people had adjusted to a new way of life, and their priorities and aesthetics had changed. This was reflected in all aspects of life, including the types of homes that were built. In Coral Gables, there was a shift away from the ornamented Mediterranean Revival style homes towards the nationally popular styles such as minimal traditional, neoclassical, and art moderne. The single-family home at 607 University Drive was built in 1939 in the neoclassical style and was amongst the homes that ushered in a new architectural era in the city and set the trends for the post-war building boom. The neoclassical style is an eclectic classical style arising from the 1893 World Columbian Exposition. The most common application of the style was for public and commercial buildings and for large or more affluent domestic homes. It was a leading style for domestic architecture throughout the country during the first half of the 20th century. The dominant characteristic and driving force of the neoclassical design is proportion and symmetry. Neoclassical architecture includes simple geometric forms balanced with austere ornamentation drawn from the classical orders. At its inception in the late 19th century, these stately homes presented a dramatic contrast to the Baroque and Rococo styles' elaborate ornamentation, asymmetry, and serpentine lines. In Coral Gables, it offered a similar contrast to the Mediterranean Revival style. The style, with its uncluttered appearance and grandeur of scale, was most often features full-height or full facade front porches, elaborate front doors, large columns with classical capitals, and flat or low roof lines. Noted architectural historian Vincent Scully described the domestic neoclassical style homes as intending to be austere symbols of affluence, and their formality and importance seem to suggest an upwardly mobile lifestyle. 607 University Drive was built on a prominent corner along Merrick Scenic Boulevard in an area laid out for higher-end homes. The home was commissioned by Dr. Odin Schaefer, an up-and-coming doctor who later aided in the founding of Doctors Hospital. The neoclassical style first appeared in Coral Gables in the late 1930s and became popular in the city after World War II. 607 University Drive is amongst the earliest of the neoclassical style homes in Coral Gables. It was one of several hundred homes built during the New Deal era, and it exemplifies the type of prominent home that was built as the city began to embrace new styles. The neoclassical style is inherently eclectic and often, as does this home, draw from the colonial revival. Hallmark and character-defining features are the visual and physical features that give a building its identity and distinctive character. This home includes many defining features of the neoclassical house. The home presents in a typical manner for the style and the time period. It has a grand two-story entry porch comprised of an even number of full-height slender classical box columns supporting a modern entablature. It has a symmetrical appearance with a central federal-inspired front doorway and an otherwise uncluttered presence under low roof lines. Overall, it has a refined and balanced street presence with a series of neoclassical and colonial revival character-defining features listed here and further discussed in the designation report. The front facade of the single-family residence faces onto University Drive, approximately 32 feet from the sidewalk. The siting of the home is in keeping with neoclassical style buildings, which are often positioned to offer full views of their stately front facades. The massing of the single-family residence is comprised of a central two-story core, flanked by one-story bays, and a western rear one-story wing. Also typical of the style, the garage, while attached, is accessed for the rear, so that it does not detract from the stately view and the symmetry of the front facade. All living areas are under low-pitched hipped roofs clad in flat tile. The current tile was installed in 2013. The original 1939 portion of the home faces University Drive and remains largely intact. It is shown in here in blue. There were a few additions to the home. In 1948, Dr. Schaefer hired architect Upton Ewing again to add a one-story wing behind the rear-facing garage. At this time, Ewing enclosed the garage for living space, added a staff room, and extended a new rear-facing garage. It's depicted here in orange. Along the east side of the wing, Ewing also added an L-shaped covered terrace that was enclosed as a Florida room in 2021. It is hatched in orange. In 2006, the garage was lengthened and the covered porch was built along the rear facade. They are hatched here in gray. These campaigns all occurred at the rear of the home and do not adversely impact the historic integrity of the 1939 home. A character-defining feature of a neoclassical style is a prominent entry porch, highlighted by visually dominant classical column assembly. The home is a two-story entry porch with full-height columns. In the post-1920s fashion, they are slender and rectangular. They are fluted with simple stylized capital and bases. The columns support a simple entablature with a molded cornice. Indicative of the style, there is an even number of columns framing the equally spaced fenestration openings of the front facade. The single-family residence built over a crawl space is constructed of masonry block units. The front and side facades of the first story are clad in brick. On the second story, wide plank siding wraps around the home. The use of different materials on the first and second story, which are both horizontally oriented, not only adds to the visual interest from the street, but also aids in balancing the verticality of the thin box columns. They ground and imparted permanence to this home. The material choices embraces the contemporaneous colonial revival era aesthetic. Centered on the front facade, the entry doorway is a neoclassical, federal-inspired ensemble. It comprises of a fanlight with radiating muntins, sidelights, panel insets, and a molded framing, and a brick door surround. Visually balancing the entryway on the second story is a circular window with divided lights. It is framed in the same molding as the entry ensemble. Flanking these central features are evenly spaced, vertically and appropriate proportioned windows with fully sized working louvered shutters held by shutter dogs. The first floor windows have brick lintels and sills. Ewing designed the home with the typical neoclassical single-hung windows on the front facade. However, he placed casements on the secondary facades. This choice may have been a nod to the casement windows that adorned most of the 1920s Mediterranean Revival-styled homes that in 1939 still dominated the city's built environment. All windows had high-profile muntins. Building records indicate that the owner John Gunther replaced the original windows prior to 1961. Currently, windows on the side and the rear facades are now awning and horizontal slider in type. The primary street presence of the home is visually symmetrical, with a two-story core flanked by one-story bays. The bays are both currently hipped roofed, clad in smooth stucco, with a series of single-hung windows and shutters with projecting brick sills that match the windows of the core. Originally, exposed rafter tails of these bays were simple. In 2007, new larger tails with curved edges were installed. The eastern bay, as seen here, was originally a screened porch. In 1972, a permit was issued to reduce the screened openings and install a window to match the western bay. Rising at the juncture of the bay is a large rectangular chimney with the step brick top course. Centered on the facade and rising a half-story above the roofline is a strong visible feature from Escobar Avenue. The western bay was originally a rear-facing garage with windows matching the adjacent home and an arch-covered entry porch. As seen here, by 1971 the archway was screened, and in 2007 it was enclosed with a matching window. At the juncture of the bay's hipped roof ridge sits a squat decorative chimney with a convex and ball cap. Hence why both bays have been repurposed from their original function, resulting in some exterior alterations. Both bays retain their original massing, and the alterations do not significantly detract from the historic integrity of the property. The remaining facades of the home are less formal and incorporate a more modernistic vocabulary and arrangement. The windows deviate from the neoclassical module as they incorporate both grouped windows and narrow openings in an arrangement that is not symmetrical or balanced. Modern square block openings were incorporated under the eaves and strategically placed to aid in balancing the facades. With the exception of the addition, these facades remain largely intact as designed by Ewing. The only addition to the rear of the 1930 two-story core is a covered porch built in 2006. The shed roof is supported by simple box columns with articulated bases and capitals of a different configuration from the 1939 front porch columns. The remainder of the additions are located along the western wing and are shown here on the right. Overall, this wing is simple and continues the vocabulary of the original home throughout the various addition campaigns. These elements include the smooth stucco cladding, low-pitched roof with rafter tails and extend the eaves, and windows with colonial muttons. The wing does not detract from the overall historic integrity of the 1939 home. In conclusion, built in 1939, the home at 607 University Drive is a significant example of one of the earliest neoclassical style homes in Coral Gables. It exemplifies the style of the time, as well as the type of prominent home built during the New Deal era when the city began to expand from its Mediterranean-inspired foundation. Building during the 1930s was sparse, and this home is a significant example from this pivotal era. With the construction of the Biltmore complex in 1925, Merrick replatted Country Club Section 6 as a higher-end area, with University Drive as a major scenic boulevard. Sitting on a prominent corner along this boulevard, architect Upton Ewing designed the home for Dr. Odin Schaefer. The choice of the neoclassical style for this upwardly mobile doctor, while breaking from the city's Mediterranean-inspired foundation, aligns with Merrick's intention for the area. 607 University Drive retains its historic integrity. It is part of a collection of quality residences that contributes to the historic fabric of the city and its sense of place over time. Staff recommends the approval of the local historic designation of 607 University Drive based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance.
Okay. Is there any further presentation from the staff? Okay. Are there any questions for the staff or applicant, folks here? Well, first of all, let's go through anybody have a ex parte? Okay. We have an applicant presentation.
The local historic designation comes first. You all vote on that, and if you all vote that it is significant and deem it to be worthy of designation, then we move towards the certificate of appropriateness.
Okay, discussion?
So as far as designation is concerned, I appreciate staff's report. I was really interested in the original makeup of the house that had the main structure and then sort of the screen on one side as an appendage, and then the garage that was kind of attached with the breezeway between that looked like a little square rear-facing garage, and its evolution since that time. I think it would have been really interesting to see in the original form, but it's not that anymore. The growth has been through the enclosures of the screens and the openings, and then the extension of the garage towards the back, and now it's just a further extension of the garage to the back. So I think the changes to it have not detracted from the original main house with appendages, which is what the original design was. And I agree with staff's recommendation to that it's worthy of designation.
Ms. Alvarez, did you have a comment?
I think it's a nice report, and I agree the project should be designated.
Yeah.
Still not working?
Okay. Any further comments? Peggy, did you have anything in there?
I move for approval designation.
Okay.
Based on? I second that.
Based on,
For the record, Ms. Rolando, are you adopting staff's recommendation for those 3 criteria based on the
Yes, I
report
am.
and evidence
Thank you.
presented? I understand your motion.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Everett? Any further discussion?
May I just say one thing? I lived at 650 University for 10 years, so right across the street. And our house was also built in 1939, but it was very Art Deco. So the neighborhood's kind of a mix of 30s houses. But I know this house well. I'm delighted that it's staying, and so I second
Thank
it.
you.
I did want to note for the record that you all were provided with letters of support and of the application, so those are a part of the official record.
Thank you. Anybody else over here? Yeah? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. We have a motion by Ms. Rolando and a second by Ms. Everett. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Chair, could we just verify if there's any public comment before we have the roll call vote?
Okay, we can do that.
If there's anybody in the audience wishing to speak or on Zoom? If not, Mr. Chair, I'll let you close the public hearing.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Shield?
Yes.
Ms. Deney?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Ms. Spain?
Yes.
Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Ms. Ebert?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Maxwell?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes. Motion passes 9-0.
Before we begin with the certificate of appropriateness, the architect for the project does need to be sworn in.
Okay, yes, they do. Would you please swear in the architect?
Go ahead. Do we need to read the title into the record?
Yes, please, Mr. Maxwell, if you don't mind reading in this item, which is the certificate of appropriateness. I don't know if you read the title or the case file previously. If you did, I apologize, but you did? Okay,
Yes,
thank
I
you very
did.
much.
Thank you.
Can you please put the PowerPoint up for presentation?
We have an accelerated certificate of appropriateness, which makes it special.
While it's coming up, you all have just heard about this. I don't need to give you any background information. The proposal requests design approval for a 2-story addition and alterations to the residence, construction of a 2-story freestanding auxiliary structure connected by a walkway, and site work. If you could please put the PowerPoint. Thank you. Oh. No, we guess just skip right to it. Okay. There were no variances that were requested as part of this application. It was reviewed and approved by the Board of Architects on September 4th, 2025. Staff's conclusions are very simple. We had some questions about differentiation between old and new that we've addressed in the staff comments of approval. And the architect is here.
Thank you, Karen. Good afternoon, board members. Nelson De Leon with Locust Architecture, Inc. With me today is the homeowner, Humberto Casariego, who's, I believe, only the third owner. Is that correct? Yeah. So thank you for the designation. Now that it's been designated, we request complete demolition and replacement with a modern home.
Hey, sarcasm really doesn't translate well.
Unfortunately, that's not funny here.
Yet we laugh.
I'm gonna speed through some of the things that you just saw in the designation report, just to, for brevity. But the site, as you can tell, is a very irregularly shaped lot, so it was a real challenge to work with a home. The immediate context, and your home, Marlon, was
It was at
middle across the street on this image?
No, it's not on that.
Oh, it's
day,
not on
those
here.
images.
My apologies.
No.
Apologies. So as Marlon had stated, it is a varied neighborhood, and the upper right corner is a recently completed new duplex home in a sort of South African Dutch colonial style. A couple of the views of the home from the street, both from University and from Escobar. It's actually hard to see the street. One, there's a high wall, there's a high hedge, and there's a number of trees that surround the property. I'm not sure if you saw these in the original. This is the original floor plan, of which we're keeping the main body of the two-story as is. The screen porch, you already know, is converted to a den. The kitchen, which is in the middle upper left-hand corner, has been significantly expanded, and then the original garage replaced completely and extended. The upstairs, the two main bedrooms, the stair remain exactly as is. The back band of original closets and bathrooms has gone through several remodelings. The home as it existed originally, main body exactly as is, and then the two wings having been modified. The home that you saw earlier. The rear elevation, which has gone through quite a few changes, except for that upper second floor volume, which is pretty much as originally designed. And to that, we do have some modifications that we're requesting. The home as it exists now, showing that extension on the west, which is the right side of this image wing, and an covered porch extension along the main two-story volume.
This is what's there.
So another view. So we're keeping the pool as is. We're keeping the pool deck as is. We're keeping all the exterior walls as is. We're keeping the existing drive and motor court off University, and we're keeping the drive rear entrance off Escobar as is. So none of the site walls are being changed. So in this diagram, we'll see the areas that are crosshatched, which are a little bit darker. Those are being demolished completely and rebuilt. The areas that are diagonally hatched are being remodeled, part of which will have the second floor addition that we're proposing. Okay. The new site plan, in this diagram, the darker crosshatch areas are the new two-story elements, and the diagonal lighter shade elements are the one-story elements. So everything is sort of to the west and back of the existing property. The floor plan as it exists today, so the entire bar west wing will be reconfigured. The perimeter of that structure is being maintained, as are the first several feet of that project. My client is a structural shell builder and is looking forward to working with the walls, which I had initially recommended just starting new, but he wants to keep that portion of the home and challenge himself. So I think it's square footage wise, we're actually adding practically no new square footage to the existing portion of the home and that bar that had been added. All the new square footage is being added to the back. One of the issues with the home is that that bar, when it was done, is 2 bedrooms and a garage. The kitchen, which is in the middle portion of this drawing, had very little visual or connectivity to the pool deck. And then the formal living room on the right had a pair of doors which will remain. So it's a home on a big lot with no visual connection and very little actual connection between a space that would be considered a family room, living room, entertainment room, and the outdoor areas. The proposed ground floor now, again, the main body of the home stays as is. The kitchen stays in its same location with a little bit of modification. We're opening up the corner that views onto the pool and pool deck, and we're creating a glass enclosed projection so that from the kitchen now you can look at the pool and you can look at the pool deck. A new family room, great room is added in that middle portion, and that is doors that open out onto that pool deck. And then the bedroom was moved all the way to the back of that bar. And then off to the side is a 2-car garage with in-laws quarters at the second floor. Semi-detached, covered connector, but semi-detached. The second floor as it exists, showing that bathroom closet wing that has been modified. The roofs to the left are being completely redone. Again, the footprint of the home stays as is. The front portion, this is the proposed new, the front portion, along with, I believe what was pointed out on the historical report is a sort of a little chimney pediment piece is being kept. And then a new master suite comprises the entirety of the left side of the addition. Along the back, we're opening up one of the original bedrooms. We're taking out part of the closet, creating a pass-through with double doors to a new 1-story uncovered but open-air balcony to have access to that pool. The roof as it exists today, the roof as proposed. We worked within a width module that would ensure that our roof pitch and ridge height would not exceed the existing home. We're maintaining the exact floor level at the second floor all the way across, and the tie beams at the second floor all the way across. So that's sort of our datum point to ensure that we respect the height and massing of the original home. The middle image here is the home as it exists today, and then the bottom is our proposed, so the new 2-story wing occurring behind to the left of the 1-story wing. That 1-story wing, we are requesting to raise it an additional 16 inches. Because that was the garage, that volume was lower. And because that volume was lower, the floor is lower. So that causes inside the house sort of a step up and step down. So we'd like to raise that floor, create as much as possible a single floor height, and sort of smooth the transition from one space to the other. So that volume now will match the den, which was the original sleeping porch on the home when it was built in the 30s. The image in the middle, again, is the existing. The image on the bottom is our proposed, showing the new wing. Along the pool side, you'll see all that glass is in direct relationship to the family room. And then above that is the double doors and side lights from the master bedroom that open onto the open air, uncovered, not covered terrace, but terrace that overlooks the pool. The image on the upper right is the garage rotated so that you can see what the front of the garage looks like. Here's the view from the rear. Again, the wing that's in the middle is all new construction. The wing to the left is the original 2-story home. Here we could see the porch addition, the open air terrace, and the new pair of doors from the bedroom out onto that terrace from the original bedroom. The west elevation, a rendering of the proposed. So we've removed some of the trees here so we could actually see the house, but even then we still have a partial screen view of that new 2-story portion, which is tucked away on the west and back of the main house considerably. It's a view from the corner of University and Escobar with a slightly elevated view so we could see a little bit more of the house. And then as we drive down Escobar toward the driveway that's at the rear of the property off Escobar, and then a mid-height flying bird aerial view over the fence so we could see into the property. And then we created 2 complete aerial views so that you could get a better feel for the original home, which is on the left side, the new bar connector, the pool deck and terrace, which all are to remain, and then the garage that's rotated and tucked further back into the property off of Escobar. And then a similar viewpoint, but now from the west side, looking at the main house, the 1-story portion that's to remain, and then the new 2-story wing. So that's our presentation. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Board?
I tried to speed it up a little bit since you had seen quite a bit of the original house. I didn't have to go into as much detail with the feature. I do want to add one more thing because I did see the staff report on conditions, and what we're doing as usual is we're trying to not replicate but complement. Incredibly difficult sometimes with these type of homes that have small window grids and details that are hard to differentiate even by degrees without them looking on a drawing like they're exactly copied. So to that end, the house has a very large plank siding on the main 2-story volume that's about 9 inches in height. So what we did is there's 9 rows of planking on the original. We reduced it to 8 on the proposed. When you look at the elevations, it's almost impossible to tell, but that's how we differentiated the siding from one to the other. The siding on the main home being wood, the siding on the new being a stucco reproduction of that. And then the same thing with the window grids, just trying to change the grids slightly, and which is always a challenge. And I'm sure Alex and Anna, when they've worked on these homes, when you have this size grid, it's very difficult to stray too far off the path because then it just looks too radically different. So it's always a challenge when we're doing new windows to respect the original but yet be different of the original. The roof tile, red clay, I think that's what we have shown here, so we're in agreement with that. A lot of the standard items of the high-profile Muntins we have noted on our plans, along with the glass being clear view, non-reflective, non-tint. And I think that's it for this part of the presentation, so.
Thank you. Anna? You've got that question on your face.
Others might have questions first,
Yeah.
but can can you explain the rebuilding? You mentioned the piece that in the COA report they describe as a water tank chimney.
It was originally a solar water heater, right? So it's non-functional, but has been completely rebuilt and restored.
Well, there is the water heater.
Humberto Casariego, the homeowner.
Humberto Casariego. There's still a water heater inside that space, but there is no solar panels. The solar panels were removed when I redid the roof back in 2015. The solar panels were removed when I redid the roof back in, I think it was 2015. A bit unsightly, plus with all the shade, it didn't really do much. So.
Thank you.
Could you put the rendering back that shows that the way you're rebuilding it? I think it's the rendering before this one.
I'm sorry, what?
The rendering that shows that piece. I just wanted to know how the roof works. Could you bring it?
Yeah, let me go to the roof plan. So that's where it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Here's a way to point.
it's very clear, but the little, let's just call it the little chimney, falls in exactly the same location, which is centered with a ridge, is the corner of it. And then the 2 flat portions of the roof itself connect to the front face of it. And that's how it exists today. So basically it'll be removed. The roof is raised, rebuilt to the same pitch and size that it is today, and then that element placed
So
back
that
on
center
top.
part is flat. Okay, it's just in the rendering, it showed something else. Okay.
Peggy?
I have a question about the windows in the garage. You say you're elevating the floor by 16 inches. What's happening to the windows?
So not in the new garage.
No, I'm
But-
speaking about the former
Yeah,
garage.
so, yeah, all, those will come up a little higher. Because they were referenced to the lower floor. So when we raise that, the windows come up also.
Okay, so that's.
So they're the exact same window configuration, the shutters, it's just that they'll be raised.
Okay, so that's a change in the front facade.
Yes.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, basically what'll happen is those windows now will be even with the rest of the windows, the main part, so it'll be actually more symmetrical, than what it was previously. And also even with the east wing.
The den.
Okay, so I just want to first say that I live in a home that was designed by Nelson. I don't know whether I have to disclose that, but I do. Anyhow, and I love it. And I love it.
Nelson, you didn't
I'm not biased,
influence
but
it, did
I
you?
do like his work. I really love looking at your plans. They're so efficient. And even when I was a preservation officer, you would come in and I'd look at the original floor plans, and I compared what you did. You're great.
Thank you.
I love
Appreciate
this.
that.
This is really going to live well as a home, which is so important. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia Ponce.
Yeah, so I was going to start the same thing. I love the plans are beautiful. They're easy to read and easy to understand, which is great. So thank you very much for that. I did want to, I think Ms. Alvarez, her comment on the elevation of A05, the little cupola doesn't appear to be on the drawing. Is it tucked behind the? Correct.
It's not in the rendering that was shown. It came up, no, it came up during writing the staff report, and they were like, oh, by the way, we are keeping it. So, and they actually have the copper roof structure off of it, so it's being restored and brought back. So no, it is not on your drawings.
Okay, I think now I understand why I was asking
exactly.
it. Because I thought you were looking at
It wasn't on the
the
plan or the
updated one
elevation.
would have the cupola added back in, yes. Okay.
And then the windows in the front are very clearly drawn. It's all very clear and well done. I did have, the only concern I thought I had, which is the presence of the second story addition to the two-story house, the fact that it is set back and the dining room is left at the one-story height so that the main house has the right profile from 1 to 2 and then 2 in the back. But even then, it's still a pretty large piece in the back. I went through the photographs that you provided of the front of the house, and the street trees and the trees on site just will make it so that you cannot see it. So I appreciate, again, the information that was provided because the questions I had were addressed in the drawings that you provided. So thank you.
Thank you. I try not to let landscape, though, dictate the architecture, but sometimes there's things that are just in the way that make it very difficult to.
It works in your favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that banyan tree, hides a lot of sins. Yeah, Ms. Shield, anything down here for you? Down here? Ms. Ebert?
I'm fine, thank you.
Ms. Dene? All right. And Mr. Silva?
Sure. I would echo my colleagues' comments. I think the plans are great. Excellent job. I don't have an issue with that raising of that existing garage structure. I don't have an issue with keeping those windows and just pushing them up. I appreciate the subtlety involved in changing the rhythm on that siding. I think you'll pick it up if you really look. So I think it's a really subtle way of differentiating it, other than the actual material. I did have a question on. We went through all of staff's comments except the last one where they had a question or a concern on that round window on the rear elevation. So I'd like to hear both your thoughts on that. I personally don't have an issue with leaving it as it is, but I would like to hear kind of your comments and staff's comments and rationale. Yeah.
The rear facade I wasn't as concerned about, it was the front facade. It was just kind of matchy on the two front facades. If you guys feel that it's going to be set far enough back that it's not visible, then it might be okay. Or change the muntin pattern maybe, or the way it's framed. The back one I don't have an issue with.
Did you have a
Anything else?
preference? No?
Change, modify.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Nelson, you got any comments on that?
I loved it. I thought the project was really well presented. I thought the drawings were very clear.
Well, that says it all.
The window.
All right. Ms. Alvarez?
If you notice that the
Yeah,
original.
please speak into the
sorry.
microphone.
If you show the original facade of the house, when it was first built back in, I don't know if you can go back to that first
39.
facade.
39.
39.
Yeah, 39. Do we have that somewhere? I don't know. The whole facade, so we can see
The
that other little entrance that goes into the mudroom.
Oh,
The mudroom is that breezeway, I guess, between the main part of the house
yeah.
and
Can you
the
put
garage.
Can you put the PowerPoint back up, please? That one.
Referring to the archway.
Yes, if you notice, that archway imitates the front entrance. So there is that. So there is that. So I'm not sure why the round window in the front, the round window in the back would detract from, you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
okay.
the window in question is the one at the laundry room
Yeah.
at the second floor.
Which is set back. But I mean, we do have the same situation happening with the original drawing of the house. You see, between this and this.
It's kind of a modified opening, where they're both doing the same thing, but differentiated, so maybe there's a way of doing something like that.
I don't really have a problem with it being the same. I think that the fact that it's back, number one, but also the siding is going to be different, so it'll be, if someone's looking at it closely, understand that it's in the newer portion, even though the window's the same. For me, it doesn't detract from the original one, but, you know, I also wouldn't care if it was different.
Are there any further questions? Okay, is there any discussion? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm going to that right now. Yeah. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak for or against this project? In any way, shape, or form on Zoom? Ethereal or otherwise?
No one on Zoom.
No? Okay, so then we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to come back to the board for discussion and a motion. Is there any further discussion, board? Any further questions of anybody?
No.
If not, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Would love to make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Garcia Ponce.
A motion to approve the design proposal for additions and alterations to the residence and site work at the property located at 607 University Drive, and approve with the conditions above the additions in the report, the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness, including number 11, to work with staff, but most of us are fine with the window as it is.
You good with that, Nelson?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
I have a second by Ms. Alvarez. Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'd like to call the roll, please. Nelson, by the way, that's really good design.
Thank you.
Ms. Schilt,
Yes.
Ms. Dene,
Yes.
Ms. Rolando,
Yes.
Ms. Spain,
Ms. Spain?
Yes.
Ms. Ebert,
Yes.
okay. Ms. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Ponce,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Maxwell.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion? I know.
Board members.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful
you.
presentation.
I tried to, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the next file, which is case file COA 2025-012. It's an application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 628 Alcazar Avenue, a contributing resource within the Alcazar Avenue Historic District, legally described as lots 5 and 6, Block 20, Coral Gables, Section B, Plat Book 5, page 111, Miami-Dade County Public Records. The application requests design approval for additions and alterations to the residence and garage and site work. Staff?
Good afternoon. As mentioned, this is 628 Alcazar Avenue, designed in a minimal traditional style, built in 1937 by William Merriam. The application requests design approval for the additions and alterations to the residence and garage and site work. The two-story addition requires partial demolition of the southwest corner and relocation of the existing garage, and site work includes a driveway, covered terrace, pool, and pool patio. The applicant is here to make a presentation, and then we can go discuss the recommendation and conditions.
Thank you.
I think I remember. Good afternoon, board members. I can't believe I had to follow Nelson. That's a tough one.
Please state your name.
Peter Kalijian.
Please state your name and your address for
PPKS
the record.
Architects. Peter Kalijian with PPKS Architects. We're the architects for 628 Alcazar. It's good to see you all again. It's my fourth William Merriam house that I've worked on. So I think I'm hopefully getting to know him on a personal level. We agree with staff's recommendations, but let's go through the project. Quintessential North Gables property in a historic street. The property lies just at the west end of Alcazar, right before it hits Alhambra. Here you have the North Street view and the South Street view. Again, typical North Gables Street with a variety of contributing properties, and then houses from different eras that are not necessarily contributing, but do provide a different scale, 2-story and 1-story. These are our immediate neighbors. In the center is 628 Alcazar. To the right is 614, 636. Those are the next door neighbors and the neighbors across the street. And you can see there's a variety of homes, but it's all in all a street that does have quite a bit of contributing properties, and it's clear why it was picked to be a historic district. So we are working within that, and hopefully we can make this a successful project. Again, this is the historic picture of the house. We are in this process restoring any of the existing details that have survived, and there's going to be a strong effort to do that. So, you can rest assured that's going to happen. These are the microfilms of the home. They're not in great shape, but we were able to extract as much information as we needed to document the home. The home is a 1-story home, again, typical of that era. The 4 houses that I've worked on are 1108 Obispo, which is where I live, 1116 Obispo, which is my next door neighbor that'll be coming to you guys in the next month or two. 2039 Alhambra, which will also be coming to you guys in a couple of months. And this house, 628 Alcazar. His work, again, we're not asking for any variances, as you can see in the report. That's the survey and the zoning information. And here's some more close-up shots of the house. William Merriam's work is, there's kind of a pattern. There's typically a 35-foot front setback, and then there's a projecting room that meets the 25-foot setback, but a lot of there's a lot of area given to the front. The 1-story homes are, the pattern or the strategy seems to be a very grandiose but humble entrance space with exposed ceilings and, flanked or bookend by a fireplace. So 3 of those properties that I'm working on have that scenario going on. And then the secondary and tertiary spaces are treated in a more utilitarian and just in a simpler way. But still, the detailing is very nuanced. There's scalloped walls, rounded corners, thickened walls. There's wrought iron is used sparingly, and I've only seen it in 2 of the homes that I'm working on this one and the one in Alhambra. And as you can tell from the opening slide, we are going to restore that element, which is surviving. There's also in the report mention of the use of tile at the entrance steps and the surround of the door. We know for sure the door is not an original door, and we don't think the tile is original, but towards the end we would reserve the request that we can work with staff to either repair these or do something better that's more to the original, because they've added like bathroom tiles on the edge, like a bullnose tile, so it's kind of a mix. So even though at a distance it looks like something valuable, when you get closer up, it's not original to the house. So that's something that we can discuss if we get there. Again, the idea, this is a 100 by 100 foot lot, and like I mentioned, the house is set back at 35 feet. The idea here was, this is a growing family. I'm here joined by the homeowners and their 2 daughters. Janelle and Chris are the homeowners. The strategy here was to work with the flow of the house. In other words, on the right of the house is the utilitarian spaces, the kitchen and the garage, and on the left were the bedrooms, and obviously the central space, which is the primal space, is remaining where it's at. But we wanted to really accomplish the program on the ground floor so we can have a compressed second floor, so that the addition of the second floor is really reduced to its minimal dimensions or its minimal mass, let's just call it, and still leave some room for a yard and a pool that a growing family will need. So this is a comparison of the existing and the proposed, and you can see that basically what we're doing is layering an extra room to the existing layout. And then here you can see that the second floor is quite compressed. It's in the back of the house towards the corner of the house, of the existing house. And the additions that are 1 stories are subservient to the existing house. So you'll see in the elevations now that in the roofs, there's a combination of hip, gables, flat roofs to really modulate and to really work with the massing of the house. And here you can see how we've kept, even with the 1-story additions, we've kept the original profile of the house where it's a telescoping element. And the garage, even though it has come forward, it still remains in that original profile. And then on the 2nd-story addition, what we've done is we've taken advantage of the stairs and a bathroom to kind of bring the tie beam down and create an intermediate level between the 1-story and the 2-story. So that always helps the eye transition from a 1-story addition, from a 1-story house to a 2-story addition. And on the left, we have the master bedroom addition, and that is subservient again to the existing roof line. And the side elevations in the rear. Right now, we're showing, the report says a rear terrace. At the time that we did this, there's a new section in the code that allows terraces, if they're open on 2 sides, to be attached. At that time, it wasn't available. Right now, we're presenting it as a trellis. If we come back as a terrace, we'll either work with staff or come back to you guys. But we're not changing the submittal at this moment. We probably will come back with it, but that'll be at a different date. And then on the west, what we did is something I caught in one of the meetings that I came here about leaving a memory of the old garage on the existing wall. I think it was Mr. Maxwell that had spoken about that on a different project, and I thought it was kind of clever. And so we've kept a relief of the garage. We've added a window, so it's not a blank wall. So that western elevation, you can see that the additions are behind the existing house, even the 1-story ones, and then we left that that silhouette of the original garage gable end. Here's some of the 3-dimensional representations of the house that give you the sense that the house really hasn't, the front of the house really hasn't changed, and it's still, you know, an appealing presence on the street. Again, I can go into more detail, but we are employing that same technique of using, you know, double thick walls. You can see it there on the second story. That wall is 16 inches deep. The garage wall is deep, so that the house, even though it's not copying the scalloped detail of the existing house, brings other details that, you know, that have been used in houses of the same era. And I'll run through these. These are just some of the contributing properties on Alcazar, just in case we get into a further discussion about any other elements and how the neighborhood is. There's 1108 Obispo, that's where I'm at. There's part of the reason why we took some on Obispo is because Alcazar has a lot of thin lots where Obispo has some of the wider lots. And our lot is obviously 100 by 100, so some of the homes on Obispo are more appropriate in scale and layout than some of the ones on Alcazar. And obviously Obispo is another one of those historic street districts. And I think there's a comment regarding the driveway. We haven't shown the landscape, and same reason Nelson mentioned, when we go to the Board of Architects, we ask for no landscaping because we want to see but this will get a hedge in the front, obviously. We showed some, sorry. Yeah, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, we're showing some examples of homes that do have that driveway, because I think it's a comment, one of the comments we like to talk about from staff, that we agree pretty much with all the comments. Again, the only one that we would like to reconsider is the use of the driveway. This house is on sewer, so we don't have to worry about a septic tank. There is, you know, these are some of the homes. The driveway will be a Chicago brick, so it's going to be a nicely textured finish. But there's something that's been happening on an Alcazar is that people are putting up the no parking signs on the swale, so it gets, you know, the whole swale parking and the appearance of the street comes into question when we're talking about driveways. So I know there's a different tolerance for driveways. I think the driveways that are well done in a good material are attractive. So and that's what we intend to do. And again, this is regarding the discussion of the tile in the front. You have to look hard, but you know it seems like it's not the original tile. But we would like to work with staff to get to a good place with that and the stoop. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Board. Anna? Okay, I'm going to start down this way. Kelly? You have any questions?
It's very well done, I think, and I like the fact that the front elevation is pretty unchanged. I do have to agree with the staff on the comment number 5 about having the driveway remain just as the access to the garage and leaving the front porch open. I think with, you know, even though it's Chicago brick, I think it kind of changes the look of it.
Correct. The original garage is the original driveway is very deep. So now we're not as deep. So I don't think we can maintain a single driveway. If we end up doing a different driveway, it would have to be something that's more substantial to really, first of all, to merit the size of the lot, and number 2, to really take care of the cars. We're staying with a 1-car garage, so the garage, there's minimal garage space. So what we're trying to avoid is really just parking on the swale and not really having the correct place for the cars, even though we understand, and I understand as an architect, that the car is not, the primal part of the ensemble, but we would like, I know there's varying tolerances for the driveways, so I would like to hear from everyone, and then we can get to a place of where if that's the only sticking point, then I would like to know. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Ms. Everett?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Danae?
I agree with Ms. Schill on number 5.
Oh, very good. Mr. Silva?
I think it's very well done.
Thank you.
I appreciate the thickened walls on the front and the way that you're treating that garage addition on the front. It's a tricky site because you're so close to the rear.
Yeah.
And because of the amount of square footage you're adding, and the fact that you're not coming with a variance, and you were able to accommodate everything and still respect that front addition, the front facade is important, and I think you did a very good job.
Thank you.
In terms of the driveway, I'm kind of on the fence. I think I'll see what the rest of my colleagues have to say. There is a lot of pavement here, but I suspect that if you get rid of that driveway, of the circular driveway, then you'd be adding more pavement to be able to kind of fit 2 cars there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just wait to see what everyone else thinks.
And let me say that we're on the driveway, we're less than the allowed, I don't know if you can see it here, but the throat of the driveway is 10 feet wide. And so are the approaches, which I think 11 is the maximum, so we're below that. And we're not creating like a double parking area on the main part of the driveway. So I feel that if we do get rid of that, we're gonna have to create a place for 2 cars, which then would create like a parking court off to the side, which also works. It's not, it's not I've done it many times. We've all worked with that scheme. It's, it's not but again, the fact that the house doesn't have a septic tank. The other thing that I sort of liked about it is this coil element here on the left. That's
you can use, I think, your pointer to point at the screen, and
sorry,
I have no idea what I'm talking about, but
This
apparently
coil
there's
here?
a way. Yeah. There you go.
There?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that the driveway kind of, takes that into account, and, it kind of brings the whole thing together. I think it's, something to think about, but sorry.
If you could bring up the image from the 1200 block of Obispo, I think that would help. Because there's a good example that does that, where the landscape creates a buffer.
Yeah, and I think I probably should have had a rendering with the landscape and without the land. Here, this is the Obispo one. And, I think it's I live on Obispo, obviously, and to me, it's completely acceptable. But I do understand there's different tolerances for the drivers, and it's a discussion. It's a discussion at our board as well, and my view on it is always, if it's done well and it's a good material, it's better than having them on the swale. That's just the way that, but I understand the uneasiness with the driveways and just the conceptually, so.
Thank you. Peggy?
I'm not a fan of paving over the front yard. I think less is better, and I agree with the staff report. These plans are good enough. You could come up with a much better solution than bricking over.
Ms. Spain?
Well, the issue is that they need to somehow get 2 cars on the lot, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
Instead of always having one on the swale. I guess you could end up with.
Have a flag.
I guess you could end up with one always in the garage and the other one, but what a mess. For 2 drivers would be very difficult to have one.
The family is back there. I will tell you that they live on Columbus and they're going to move here, and I think they're going to be here until the daughters drive. I don't know how long is that, how old they are. 5 and 6.
That's
like
scary.
10 years.
I can tell you that day is very scary when you're
so that, that's something to consider. I'm going through that, and but listen, I understand both viewpoints, and like I said, we've done it both ways, and if that's the one thing that I would like to have the opportunity to work with staff to get to a place that
maybe it's the 2 curb cuts that are an issue.
Yeah,
It's not so much for me the amount of paving in the site, although I get it. That's not the ideal situation. But maybe it's something with the curb cuts.
The part of the problem, if you don't do that, then zoning has heartburn about a drive leading to nothing. If you try to do some kind
If it
of.
leads to your walkway to the front door.
Pardon?
Peter, can you pull up the site plan?
And I just was in Chicago and drove with my granddaughter, her first time. That was really terrifying.
Caesar, the site plan, you say?
A100, yeah.
Say one.
So I thought my concern was going to be with the garage moving forward, but I think the detailing actually works out pretty well especially with the scaling of the second floor to the first floor.
Yeah.
I think that was a really interesting
That's
solution
nice. Thank
over
you.
there. I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the drawing on the right. I also think the driveway is kind of a bit much. And for me, it also is the second cut through of the sidewalk. My recommendation for your consideration is just end it at the front door walkway so that you can actually have a T. You can drive in, pull in left, go straight, pull out, so that you can move some cars around. Because if it was just one straight shot, or you do a carport, it's just in and out. But this way you can have it a T.
I understand. I think that again, what I was saying is that T gives zoning heartburn because it doesn't lead to a drive. So the zoning has a rule that any drive has to lead to a garage.
But I could,
we can get over that through.
We can do it here.
No, I know.
At this level, this board can make that recommendation.
I believe that because the curb cut would still lead to the garage, it can do that T shape without it being an issue.
We'll do it, like I said, we'll do it. I think what I'm hearing is that the driveway is not acceptable. So we'll work with staff to get to some kind of version that comes close to that, where we can actually park two cars and, move them in and out without impacting, something that's complementary to the house, not just thinking about the car.
Well, then my recommendation for whoever makes the motion is that there only be one curb cut, not two, and to keep the throat at 10 feet. So I don't know how you do it behind there, but I think it's important to try to keep those two things, particularly the one curb cut.
I mean, if we can do one curb cut and then maybe the approach is not 10 feet because then it gets. I mean, I know how to do it. You go to a parking court. I get it. I understand. It's just then then you're almost like always in tandem parking, right? You always have to be moving a car to get out. So,
But there are many cars in Coral Gables that do that,
I
especially
know.
on Steel Avenue.
I know.
And not if you do it, you have a T.
Yeah, the T works.
The T
and
works,
You can
but-
both, you can have, you don't need to
One
move
parked in front
cars.
and the other parked in the, yeah, I can see that.
But, yeah, I mean, if this is the only, if this is the one thing, we'll work with staff to get to something that, I don't know if it needs to come back here or not, but it's up to, that's, I'm definitely capable of doing 67 different driveways here. It's not,
And if
this
for
is.
some reason zoning doesn't allow it, that could be a variance that we would approve.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Just having
No.
to come back to the board. which
My
hassle.
my issue is when I see a T, when I see it at the board, it feels like it's car oriented. And if it's not done like an arrival parking, like a geometry that's like it feels like a parking court, then if it looks like it's like something done out of a traffic, something for traffic. But I can work with this. It's not and I'll let you guys so yeah, we'll if you allow us to work with staff on that, we will definitely get to a solution that'll be acceptable and workable.
Thank you. Are there any other questions by members of the board? Ms. Alvarez?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say, it's a great presentation and project, and so thank you for studying the architect and kind of the architecture of that period. I know how difficult it is to add to the minimal traditional houses. And
It's a nuanced architecture, right? The details are hidden in the walls. I took your suggestion from the other house. That one I took from him, but the other house that I presented on Cordova that we talked about the windows was the final result was much better with your suggestion. But that was also the same era, not the same architect, another William, but it was a good observation. And yeah, I think it's like ingrained them, the thick walls and good stuff. So it's good. But thank you. Thank you for the compliment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or anything from members of the board? No? Okay, well then we're going to close this session and open it up to the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public on the Zoom or here in the room that would like to speak for or against this project? Hearing none, we'll close the public portion and come back to the board for discussion and a motion.
I'm happy to move it. I'd make a motion to approve with the staff conditions and number 5 to make sure its driveway should remain as a single access to the garage, and that could be a period after. The open front yard is something to be worked out with staff. The design approval for the addition and alteration to the residence and site work on the property located at 628 Alcazar Avenue, and approve the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness with the conditions as stated previously.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Garcia Pons. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Ms. Alvarez.
A question, Mr. Garcia Pons. So you're striking maintaining the open front yard portion of that comment?
I am.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, shall we call the roll, please?
Ms. Shield?
Yes.
Ms.
Ms.
Bonilla,
Deney?
pull this down a little bit so we can hear you.
Okay.
We're getting old up here.
Okay. Ms. Schultz? Yes. Ms. Deney?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Spain?
Yes.
Ms. Everett?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
Thank
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
good luck
Excellent
with the rest of the day.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, we have one more application at this time before we move into other business. And we'll try to take a break at 6 o'clock before we get into that. The next is case file COA 2025-022, an application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness, for the property at 5005 Hammock Park Drive, a local historic landmark legally described as Lot 4, Block 1, Hammock Park, Plat Book 71, page 43, Miami-Dade County, Florida Records. The application requests design approval for additions and alterations to the residence and site work. A variation has also been requested from Article 16 of the Coral Gables Zoning Code to increase the size of the gazebo from 300 square feet to 450 square feet.
Good afternoon. Oh, that's small. Thank you. This property is a single-family residence at 5005 Hammock Park Drive. Was designed by architect Alfred Browning Parker in 1964. This largely unaltered home is a mature work of this renowned architect. It employs many of his design precepts and features. It responds to the tropical environment with a narrow plan, large eaves, his signature Persiana doors, banded windows and terraces. The property was designated a local historic landmark in November 2023. The application requests design approval for 1- and 2-story, approximately 3,000 plus square feet addition and alterations to the residence and construction of a freestanding gazebo and site work. A variance has also been requested of Article 16, definitions of the Coral Gables Zoning Code to increase the maximum allowable size of a gazebo from 300 square feet to 450 square feet. I'll let the applicant make their presentation, and then we can discuss any issues with the recommendation and conditions.
Hi, thank you all for your time today. Andrea Ribol, principal of Studio Anda, who will be designing, who worked on with the family on the design of 5005 Hammock Park Drive. This property in particular, just as, see if I can click ahead, great. As context, is part of the gated community of Hammock Lakes. And the community right now is really made up of traditional, transitional, and contemporary homes. So really seeing a variety of roof typologies and architectural styles throughout the neighborhood. The original house was designed in 1964, and as mentioned, really took into consideration the Florida environment from its materiality, irregular siding, stone cladding, exaggerated overhangs, all really defining features of Alfred Browning Parker's work. And, so luckily, compared to the other houses presented today, we had such beautiful drawings to reference back to and see his drawing types, and made us want to draft the project by hand. Our client probably wouldn't have loved that time frame for our production standpoint, but really such a beautiful set of drawings that we were able to reference and study. So, but you could see here in the original floor plan, the narrow proportions of the architecture and really beautiful elements, coming into the dining room, the sunken living room, and just the use of natural light to the rear yard. So really all defining features of Alfred Browning Parker's work, and then looking at the materiality of the home, where in this house in particular, different from many of his other projects, the front facade is extremely solid. So the siding is so beautiful and important. And unfortunately not probably taken care of with the level of love for the last decades, but the irregular siding is such a defining feature because of the solidity of the front facade. As we move to the rear facade, these exaggerated vertical windows that are slanted back, really defining the architecture and opening up to the rear yard. The house is really set within a jungle, so it's very hard to even see in the neighborhood at the moment, which, with the materiality of Alfred Browning Parker's work is really actually so appropriate. It blends in with the environment in a really beautiful way. I'll go back to the slide. In 2003, it was not deemed historic at the time. There was additions and alterations made to the home. And unfortunately, some of them are within the city, some of them not. So we've been trying to piece together what was changed and not. But you could see here, yep. Okay, so this kind of open terracing and corners, which Alfred Browning Parker repeated in the home, was enclosed. And this wing of the house has really been touched and renovated, with the bathroom layouts and in general, this closed corner. So the glazing has been adjusted. And currently, the kitchen opens up now to what originally was a carport, is now a glass enclosed family room off the back of the house. So kind of alterations made to bring it to current lifestyle, and a strange addition to a back balcony off a second floor addition. So it's very eclectic, the added work, and it's something that we really wanted to work solely on the areas that had been touched from the original design. These are current photos of the house that we're looking at, and like I mentioned, and you'll see in the end of the presentation, but a lot of the features which, again, we find so important, the irregular wood siding, the cladding, has been painted and restored in different times and areas, and you do read that in the house right now. It's something the homeowner really wants to work on restoring and see, okay, well, how could we patch these kind of different, you read the layers of paint in different areas and in different years of application. So, we're really, the owners really wants to work closely with staff, and how do we restore that to have continuity in restoring that siding. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, I think this slide's important for us just so you could see we're really focusing the work on the areas that have been restored and altered. altered within the 2003 edition that was made. So the removal of that back balcony and really working on the section that has been previously touched. The dining room, the sunken living room features with all of its interior elements, and I want to bring that in because there's really beautiful interior doors and woodworking, just like the craftsmanship he took on the exterior of the work into the interior of the house, and the homeowner wants to restore that and leave the main living room as originally designed. Luckily, it hasn't been touched over these years, and that's something that we want to preserve. The family is a young, growing family, 3 young kids. The husband loves to cook, and I always give family background. It's probably too much for this presentation, but the reason I'm mentioning it because they have, newborns, 2-year-olds, and this house in the 60s, the parents had like their own suite upstairs, and the kids were downstairs in their own unit, and the split floor plan just really didn't work well for the family and their current dynamic. The husband loves to cook and have his kids nearby, so the kind of closed chef's kitchen also wasn't, inviting for what their family dynamic is now with kids of young age. So because of that, you could see that the floor plan revisions will really be made to accommodate for their family living and that more family room and kitchen space, again, preserving the living room and formal dining room as originally designed. Here's our proposed site plan, and just to highlight, we really wanted our scope of the work, like I said, it's a very lush landscaped site, and we wanted it to really sit behind the Alfred Browning Parker original structure, detach itself from it, and really feel almost as a garden pavilion. We want it to really sit in the rear yard where there is lush trees in the periphery and be more of a low-lying garden feature. So our 2 additions here are the new bedroom wing, and here's the detached pavilion. To note on the variance being requested for the detached pavilion, the homeowner does have enough FAR, extraordinary enough of FAR to have an attached covered terrace or pavilion. We just didn't find it appropriate with the architecture to have it be attached. We wanted to detach ourselves from the original Alfred Browning Parker as much as possible. So as mentioned, the proposed floor plans are preserving this interior work and really focusing on these wings back here. So we want to bring this was originally the carport location. The homeowner does want it to be an enclosed garage, but we want it to be used for the vehicle again. And then really opening up this span that had adjustments over the years to be their kind of open kitchen family room that opens to the rear yard and pool space and garden space for their open family living. So again, just bringing in this open kitchen and family room, and then in using those bedroom spaces, we've designed a new flat roof structure to be below the original Alfred Browning Parker. Again, we want to really differentiate ourselves from it and be very low-lying behind the structure. So this wing here allows us to have the master bedroom on the first floor with, I say today, you look at the original plans, and then you look at the size of master closets and bathrooms today. Obviously, they needed a lot more expansive space than originally proposed in the Alfred Browning Parker house. But his and her closets, large master bathroom. That brings us to the second floor for their 3 kids' bedrooms right above them, and the kids have their own little den upstairs. So the majority of the work is, again, this detached structure, allowing for the bedrooms and the kid and the family dynamics to work without outside of the Alfred Browning Parker, to not have so many interior adjustments to the plan. This proposed work down here is to have a guest suite and a home office. This was that addition, starting at this line right here, was a 2003 addition made on the house. We tried very hard, actually, to get the homeowner to demo that portion. You'll see in the elevations, the Alfred Browning Parker house pushed to its original line really was so beautiful. But wow, it's really hard to have someone knock down something that's already built and working. So he allowed us to restore some window elements and bring it back as much as we could. So here you could see the house as it is today. The addition was made right here at this kind of awkward little line that you see there in the roof. And this is the proposed addition, again, with our home sitting in the rear, flat roofs, which is already part of the neighborhood, and again, really trying to differentiate from Alfred Browning Parker's architecture. Something to note, and we'll look at it in the renderings, but you know, our roof typology is different, our window system is different from the original house, but we did want to have continuity and materiality, so it would be a wood-cladded bar, you know, contemporary bar with a flat roof. We want to introduce the natural stones similar to Alfred Browning Parker's materiality in his original house. Something in the staff report that's mentioned, and the homeowner is you know, very happy working with on them, is how the stone will be applied. Alfred Browning Parker's stone application obviously is something very particular of his work, and you know, we will work with staff in making sure that the application isn't trying to exactly copy the installation. So in the rear yard here, you could see again, in this elevation, this was, again, we don't have the drawings of it how it is now, but it's an enclosed glass family room. We want to bring it back for the vehicle, and then having this low-lying glass bar with the wood cladding sit in the rear garden. This is here looking at the pool area with the height, you know, I think it's such a dominant feature of the house, of the slanted windows, which in part of our request today, all of the doors and windows are not currently hurricane windows, obviously a really big priority for the homeowner. We want to keep all the proportions. We've met with window vendors to go out there and measure them, see how we could handle them. And so we're looking at working with Marvin in matching all of the existing window features. One that is important to note, there's a beautiful a stained glass window that, you know, I think we find particularly hard to replace. It's such an important historic feature on both the interior and on the exterior of the home. So we'll be, you know, we've requested to have an armor screen system there. That is one that we can't replace, so we could preserve the historic integrity and see it from both the interior and the exterior of the architecture. So, and from the, you know, the main pool area living room, again, our addition sitting beyond it within the landscape as a flat structure. The pavilion, we really wanted to be something simple and small. Again, we didn't attach it to the main residence because we didn't find it appropriate to engage the Alfred Browning Parker structure again. So it'd just be a simple pavilion within the garden. Some of the historic features that I've discussed throughout the presentation, but the use of armor screening on the stained glass windows, the preservation of Alfred Browning Parker's pattern in the original stonework, wherever it's applied and needs to be restored, the restoration of the irregular sided woodwork, again, really, for us, you could see, and I wrote, the color is like uncertain on what our final color will be for the final stain and paint, as it's been painted over many years. So we really want to strip that and see what, you know, we want to get it back to its original coloring, but it's been really painted over many years. Oh, there, it's not frozen. Okay. For the front door, you know, obviously such an, again, identifying feature of Alfred Browning Parker's work is the craftsmanship. There's a wood screening system at the front door, which is such an incredible feature. And so for our current plan is to remove, he wants the front door, of course, to be hurricane impact. So to remove the screen, restore it, replace the glass door behind it, and so that the screening system can maintain and the glass door behind it be hurricane impact. So we had the same exterior integrity of the craftsmanship. Now it's catching up quite quickly. There's one more sheet there, and I guess it will catch up and go back. But in terms of materiality, like I mentioned, the finish of the wood is one that's really important for us that we want to work with staff on. The proposed windows will be Marvin Here it is. We're just gonna, just so you know, restore all rafter and tail details, which again is part of the craftsmanship of his work. Mentioned, the homeowner does want to replace all exterior doors with impact doors. So we want to see, not much of the screening system has actually been maintained over the years. The bar is one room that has a persiana screening system and door. And so we do want to restore that one and see if we could use it on the interior of the house, whether it's going into the bar room to kind of give a nod to what that space was. So we want to restore it and reuse it within the home, but not in its original location, as it's the only one standing. And then as this clicks ahead, the roof will be replaced as part of the scope of work. Like I mentioned, we want to use the same natural materials like Alfred Browning intended for it to be part of the natural environment of Florida, the wood siding and the stone in our new addition as well. We'll be working with Marvin in the replacement of all the doors and their coastline system in the new addition. And we'll be working in the bronze color tone. And part of the request today is also a rework of the driveway and the pool. The pool is not original to the design, and so the homeowner wants it to feel a bit more current and in line with the architecture and the additions that we're working on today. Here's our addition tucked behind the house. The breezeway connector connecting the Alfred Browning Parker house to the new addition. And then I think in this aerial, you could see here the rework of the pool aligning with this really, beautiful vertical feature of the original house, and our pavilion sitting behind kind of the main T of Alfred Browning Parker's design. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, board, questions? Comments? Discussion?
May I make a comment?
Please.
I feel like I've walked through Architectural Digest just now. It's beautiful.
Thank
It's
you
lovely.
very much.
Wow.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yeah, very nice and very clear and complete presentation. Thank you. Very nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Silva?
Yep, I echo the comments. I think it's a great job. I think the way that the addition kind of disengages from the project is very good. Even the rhythm on your floor to ceiling glass kind of talks about the random siding. So that's really well done. Thank you for taking off that porch addition.
Yes.
Appreciate that. The only question I had is the connection with that breezeway. I don't really see. I don't see a clear section of that. I think the best place to see that is actually on the renderings. I guess take a look at how that abuts, how that connection hits the.
Could you put the presentation back up, please, CGTV?
Yes, so
It's like
that
a flying slab, right? And it comes in. It starts underneath the new addition, right? Yeah, you can see it in the back. But it's hard for me to see on this laptop how it connects to the Parker house.
Yeah, so that is one particular spot where we had to kind of, cut back obviously on his overhang and then disengage those rafters. So have it, exaggeratedly detached from the breezeway to allow that to breathe, and that will be a lower portion of a walkway connected to the main beam there.
Can you go to the next sheet, 504? Does that show it? No.
For the roof plan.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to jump to this because the rest of it is beautiful and
No,
perfect,
of course.
But this is just a question that I had,
Yeah.
how that connects.
No. So this is this guy here. No, nothing's being removed to add that in, right? The flyover.
You're not removing anything in order to get that connection, right?
So we do have, so I'll show you here on the original. There is where the portion of the breezeway connects, we do have to cut on the original roof at that portion.
Can you go to the plan?
Yes, it's just thinking.
Okay. Because I also had a question on the hearth behind it.
It's
I think what happens at that location is that the overhang is too low to engage below it, so that is the only place they'd have to cut back the overhang and the rafter tails to be able to connect it. But I think what you're, well, when we get there, is explaining is that it'll be the height of the wall.
Correct.
Okay, so it won't go past where the roof is, or
Correct. We're matching all door and windows heights at that height, but because of the overhang, it comes lower. It comes to like a 6'2" height at the end of the overhang. So we can't connect below it for walkability. So we will have to cut back the rafters at that portion and connect, which is actually how he treated that vertical element within the living room, right? So he cuts back the rafter and it accepts it.
That same sort of.
That same detail.
And we could ask that they include a section of that detail so that we know the connection is not engaging the roof in any other form or cutting it back further than the wall, existing wall location. If you want to add, if you would like to add that to the conditions.
Sheet 202, is that where, yeah.
202?
Yeah, does that show it? Go to the,
there we go.
Behind the trees, is that what we're talking about?
Correct.
Yeah, so it almost looks like it's drawn behind it. You can see the gable comes down and it's behind that it cuts in.
Correct.
So that you still see the line of the gable, just you cut into it at some point.
Correct.
And since it's covered by the trees, it's hard to know what the detail was.
Correct.
So I also shared the.
So yes, your rafter detail will continue for the duration of the structure, and then it will
Cars in
the trees is not bringing the most clarity there.
It's pretty much notched in so that the rafters exist on either side of the
Again,
addition.
like he does. It's
Yeah,
gonna
sheet 102 shows where you carve it out.
up here, right? So it's going to notch back and accept the breezeway. It's just because of the length of the overhang at that point, we couldn't keep it below it.
Yeah, that's the best one.
And did you want me to click to the floor plan?
No, I can see it in 102. You can see where it touches in. I did have, so I also think it's lovely. It must be so much fun to work on.
It is.
You mentioned the sort of stained window. Which one is that one again? I wasn't sure. I couldn't follow that.
So it happens at the end of the gables. It's like an apex window right above
on the
the
front
gable.
or on the east or west?
Here, I'll show you here on the elevations. So this one has been altered.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're back over there on the side.
That one. I remember seeing the pictures on the inside.
Yes. So from the living room and dining room, you see that at the termination gable. So we really didn't want to replace that as it's a really important interior feature as well as exterior.
There's no skylights in the house, are there?
No.
You know, I've worked on several of these Parker houses. They leak like sieves.
And on sheet 202, the rear hearth, it looks like it's been extended.
Yes.
It's where the laundry room is now, I think. So on the top, it's a thinner bar, and on the bottom, it's a wider bar. So it turned, I don't know.
The chimney?
The chimney.
So that was an addition in the 2003. It's a strange trapezoid right now.
Yeah.
It's a little eclectic and attaches to the balcony in a very strange way and to the interior. So we wanted to really mirror the proportions that he had in the chimneys and kind of this kind of wider element.
Just rotated,
Correct.
which is nice. And then the front, the screen door in the front. So I mean, that's I think a character-defining element of the house, and you're definitely keeping it above the door, but even the detail that comes down and then it goes back and then it goes down again. I like the idea of keeping it somewhere, but I really like the idea of keeping it there. So I don't know what my fellow board members think. I think the fact that vertical element of the same material from the eave to the ground is really spectacular, and
I agree. That is maintained.
I thought you were taking the door out.
No.
So the front door with the checkered kind of pattern, that is remaining. The door that they're talking about is the Persiana door, it's like a double door on the.
The Persiana door is
Putting a
actually
new door
right
back
here.
behind it that meets hurricane code.
So this one we're maintaining.
Yeah, that
100%.
front,
That's it
yes,
right there.
yeah. They were just gonna replace the door and then add the framing back on.
I thought I saw a wood screen door to be removed.
So this one here is one of the only one that the screening system maintains, and that's one that we want to restore and use within the interiors because it's the only one that has.
I misunderstood. Thank you.
No problem.
I was like, no.
I was like, whoa. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing me so positively if you thought I was removing that.
So that front
Peggy,
door, yeah, because the
anything?
demo plan shows it going away, but it's not going away. For sure.
I chose the other one going away, not the front one.
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions?
I
Mr.
did, I
Silva?
did have a question on the variance. So the variance is being requested because the Gables code has a specific maximum size for a gazebo regardless of lot size and all that, right? So
Yeah.
It's just a random maximum size. You're way under your FAR and way under your ground coverage for this parcel, right? So
Yeah.
given that they could, by zoning, have attached this thing and it be unlimited in size up to the maximum FAR, I think this is an appropriate solution, and I think a variance is totally valid in this case. So I agree with the recommendations for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Especially since
Silva.
it's so open, right? It's just an open
Kelly?
plan with a chimney.
Okay. All right.
I
Kelly,
do have
Ms.
one question. Just the front door, the lattice front door, you're going to put an impact door there too? Is going behind that door or in front of that door?
It's going behind the screen door.
Okay, that's all.
Yes, behind this one, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Any further questions? Any further? Okay, well then we'll just close this and open it up to the public. And is there anyone here that would wish to speak for or against this here in the room or on Zoom? Hearing none, we close the public hearing and bring it back here to the board.
Great house. That's my only comment. It's a great house.
It's really fun.
All right, I'd like to have is there further discussion or like to have a motion?
I'll move approval.
All right,
I'll move approval. Would you like, Ms. Throgmorton, two separate motions?
That's fine, if you'd like to make two separate motions, either way.
okay, good.
So I will make a motion to approve the design proposal for the additions and alterations to the residence, and approve with the conditions noted in the staff report, the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Janae?
Oh,
It's okay, Mr. Rolando.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
Any other discussion before we call the roll? Any clarifications needed? All right, we'll move the question.
Ms. Alvarez,
Yes.
Ms. Shield,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons,
Yes.
Ms. Rolando,
yes.
Ms. Spain,
Yes.
Ms. Everett,
Yes.
okay. Ms. Dene,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Maxwell.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion number one for the design approval passes. All right, we have another motion, Mr. Silva?
Sure. I will make a motion to approve a variance to allow the gazebo pavilion to be 450 square feet versus the required maximum 300 square feet as required by Article 16 of the Coral Gables zoning code.
Wonderful. May I have a second, please?
I can second that one, thank you.
Ms. Dene? Wonderful. Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Alvarez,
Yes.
Ms. Shield,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons,
Yes.
Ms. Rolando,
Yes.
Ms. Spain,
Yes.
Ms. Everett,
Yes.
Ms. Dene,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Maxwell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
You'll enjoy working on that.
Thank you. If you can't buy
Okay.
the house, it's fun that you get to design it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take we've been here 2 hours now. I know that everybody, wants to get finished, and we just have a little bit more. But if we can have like a 5-minute break for restrooms and things like that, so the board's not overly taxed. We'll reconvene at, call it 6:05. can get involved through we're active in this community. Shortly, because she's got to go get somebody to warm up on. But we're going to go ahead and call the meeting back to order, and we're going to
Recording in progress.
We're going to move into our old and new business. So I'm going to defer to our city attorney, and she's got an announcement here.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. So welcome back, everybody. As you know, on the agenda, we have two matters of old business and new business, and I have one additional item. So the first item is just to remind you all that hopefully I'll be seeing you tomorrow at 9 a.m. at our biannual boards and committees training from 9 to noon. If you cannot make it, we will be filming it and share that information with you and ask you to fill out an affidavit of compliance with that training. But like I said, I hope we'll see you. The clerk's office is generously providing breakfast for everybody. So if that doesn't tempt you, I don't know what will. But a very riveting 3 hours on ethics. And we will have a separate meeting as we did last year. I would ask your input on this, but last year we held a board-only workshop at the Fink Studio where we could, in compliance with the Sunshine Law, sit down and discuss generally the way this board operates, the standards of which, the standards in the zoning code that you all apply to the applications before you. If it's all right with you, we're going to work with staff to work on scheduling that again. I hope that all of you or most of you can attend, especially of those of you who didn't get a chance last year, because I do think it was a very helpful thing to do, a board-specific training. So we're looking to do that. We have two discussion items. We have the update regarding 1021 Hardy Road and a discussion item about 2026 meeting dates. I don't know, Mr. Maxwell, if you'd like to move on to 1021 Hardy, but I'll defer to you as the chair. We also have the election, now that we're a full board and everyone is present today, the re-election selection of a chair and vice chair.
All right, we're going to wait for Ms. Rolando to come back to have that, but let's have a discussion quickly about the meeting date. Traditionally, we have met on a Wednesday. You'll notice that if it's on Thursday sometime, I'm not able to attend. Many of us have other obligations that we have to do. And I have a client that meets on funky times, and so I have to be there. We've had discussions about moving this back to Wednesday. I have sent a note to the city clerk requesting that we do so. And because it's been discussed by many of us, I know Mrs. Spain has a conflict right now, but most of us who have been on the board for a long time, have sort of this dedicated Wednesday, to that. And so I'd like to have a short discussion about the day of the week that you would like to do that we could perhaps recommend to the city clerk as we're getting ready to be moved out of here soon, and we'll be going back over to the public service building. So I'd really like to hear, we'll just start down here with Ms. Alvarez. With days of the week, would you like to return to a Wednesday?
I'm okay with either day.
Either day with you is fine.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Rolando?
I'd prefer Wednesday, but either day is acceptable.
Okay. Yeah. Ms. Spain?
I don't care. Those days I have conflicts, I just won't come. Those days that I have conflicts, I just won't come.
So it doesn't matter, you're...
Okay. I don't like to not go to a board meeting, but if I'm not able to, I'm not able to.
That's a good reason. Mr. Garcia-Ponce.
So my question is for staff. Do we have an idea of what's anticipated in the new year with the move?
Yes. So the reason we are scheduled on Thursdays this year is that if you recall, we began this calendar year over at the community meeting room of the Public Safety Building before we returned. And as Mr. Maxwell noted, we will likely be returning soon back to the community meeting room of the Public Safety Building. That room, when it needs to be set up, the plan of staff has been to have especially our quasi judicial boards back to back to back, so that they're not constantly setting up and breaking down that room. And my understanding of the way it was working this year, and I think that's the anticipated plan for next year, is that you have a commission on Tuesday, Wednesday morning you have code enforcement board, Wednesday evening you have planning and zoning board, and then we would meet on Thursdays, so that they're not setting up and breaking down the setup of the chamber's dais every other week, et cetera. So my understanding is that's why we were moved to Thursdays. I anticipate that the clerk's office will likely be looking at doing something similar when we move back. But of course, you all are welcome to make that request to the board, but the city sets the board meeting dates. But I just wanted to explain the reasoning of the moving, which I think is a logistical one.
Yes, I understand. Mr. Silva, you have a preference?
I had a question.
You have a question?
That was very well answered. So I'll express my opinion now.
Your opinion is open for discussion.
So either day's fine. I currently have a conflict on Wednesdays because I've scheduled other things for those times, but what'll happen is if it changes, I'll see what I can change with those schedules, but it sounds like the clerk will give us their best.
You know, my preference is for Wednesdays, Mr. Maxwell, because of 7 p.m. on Thursdays, so.
Yeah, and I usually have a 6 p.m. condo board meeting, and these people actually pay me, so I need to go. My preference would be on Wednesday, but again, you know, I'm flexible too, and if I can't be there, I can't be there. I try to schedule everything else around that as well. Mr. Silva?
Yeah, I'm okay with both days. I do prefer Wednesdays though, but I can do either day.
Ms. Dene?
I prefer Wednesday as well, so perhaps if we do make that request, it might have some bearing on how they decide to schedule the different meetings.
Ms. Everett?
I can try either day. I mean, whatever works for the majority.
Ms. Shield?
I'm available either day, but Wednesday probably does work better for me too.
Okay, so we really have kind of a consensus, I won't call it a consensus, but yes, everybody can do it on Wednesday, and if not, well, you know, Thursday works okay too. You know, if you would convey that, please, to the clerk and just say there's a preference for Wednesday perhaps, and if it could be, if not, well, you know, we're here.
Understood. We'll certainly pass along that message and request.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Okay, shall we go ahead and address the discussion item on the Hardy Road? Is that where we are, Ms.?
Certainly. So, Mr.
Attorney?
Maxwell, I know you unfortunately were not able to attend this portion of the meeting at the last meeting. Staff did give an update and we heard from the public. I can give you a brief summary of the legal case. Just as you all know and may recall, there is a legal case proceeding with the city and the property owner. There was a hearing last week, or the week before last week. And at that hearing, there was a new notice of appearance by a new attorney who has now accepted service for all parties related to the owner. And there is now a November 10th hearing scheduled for the city's injunction, which is an injunction asking for reopening of permits, certain deadlines for construction, and finalization of the permitted work. So that injunction is scheduled for November 10th. It's my understanding that the city staff may have some updates about the shoring that had been previously completed, but I'll defer to Ms. Pernas on that.
Yes.
Do you need a coat?
Sorry?
Do you need a coat? I can see
Not
how
yet.
cold you are.
We'll be providing ponchos next meeting. No, so I just wanted to give a little bit of a timeline here because I think there was some discussion about expiration dates, when things were issued, when things had been done. So as you all know, there was a COA issued by this Historic Preservation Board on November 23rd, 2021, with an expiration date of 2023, of November 2023, and the ability to extend through 2024 administratively. The building permit was issued May 18th, 2023, which falls within that 2-year period. And that building permit did comply with the conditions and staff's and the board's recommendations for issuance. And that was reviewed by staff and approved, again, like I said, in May 18th, 2023. The work had begun, stopped. We worked on complaints. We monitored. There was, discussions about when to go to court, when not to go to court. I will say there was the Code Enforcement Board did have hearings in July. And then following those hearings on July 22nd is when the city took over the site and began shoring the property. The permits were issued on July 23rd, and the work was completed and permits were closed on September 17th. So right now, the buildings have been secured and they are shored, and permits have been finalized and closed. So that work has been done, and the buildings, to the city's perspective, has been at least stabilized. The contractor on our end did their best efforts to waterproof what they could that was coming from the 1021 Hardy that was affecting any of the neighbors' properties. Like Ms. Throckmorton said, there was a hearing on October 3rd, and the following hearing will happen on November 10th. Again, we continue to monitor the site. We will continue to work with the neighbors on any repairs and exploratory demolition that needs to occur to understand what other issues have been done through their permitting process, but the city will not be taking on any other repairs to those properties. I think that answered all the questions I had from you all. So if there's anything else.
Ms. Shield, do you have a question?
Is there a mortgagee, a lender?
I don't
holding a
believe so.
mortgage on the property?
No.
Okay, Ms. Shield?
And I'll confirm, but I don't believe there is.
No questions.
Okay. Any further discussion, question? Cesar?
I did have, you did mention something about the abutting historic properties. I know that we're talking about this particular one, but the whole area is historic, and
right.
There was some discussion at the last meeting about.
Yeah, so this property specifically shares walls with other properties. So that's where there was damage. Damage had occurred to the neighboring properties, which I believe we discussed at the last meeting. The homeowner is here today. And so the city took on what they could on the 1021 Hardy side where they accessed to provide any, to stop any water intrusion that was coming from that end. But again, the city will not be taking on any repairs to those structures at this time.
That would be some sort of a civil matter between.
Yes, that's the civil matter between the neighbors and the property owner.
And my second question is going forward, like using this as a case study, and thankfully it doesn't happen very often. Is there a way that this board can get informed in possibly a more timely manner of any sort of COAs that are having some difficulty getting constructed?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we can do, because like I said, this went into code enforcement, a lot of the issues, and it came up at the last meeting too, of like who has jurisdiction over what and when and who punishes who and how. And so the code enforcement board is really responsible for those things. And so what we can do is share the code enforcement board agendas with the board. If you want to look at those, the historic items are identified on the agenda. So it'll say clearly historic on next to the property address. So you can kind of see what's going on. If there's something on the agendas that you have questions on, you're welcome to, obviously then ask us. Their meetings are actually the Wednesday before ours. So the agendas kind of circulate at the same time. So we're happy to just share that link. And if there's any other ways that you want to be more involved or understand more or have questions, or if you see something, let us know. We're happy to go out and take a look at any of these properties that are being worked on.
I think it would, may I? Yeah. I think it would be also appropriate if we could follow up on permit approvals and things. Let me give you an example. Over several years, we have approved renovations to a house on South Greenway, on one of the early Coral Rock houses. They've done nothing over years. And so I think it would be really appropriate, to just begin to follow, that and see about the follow through that's occurring, because I mean, these permits are going to expire and people have to come back.
Yeah, so almost like the status of
that's
last,
just,
some sort of kind of update on that. I'll try to see how
yeah.
the best way to kind of go about it, because obviously we can't force people to pursue a building permit and do the work if they don't want to, but they should maintain the property, which I know which address you're talking about, and there's been discussions about that already with code enforcement.
They don't cut the grass real well, but other than that, it's pretty
So would that be part of what you were mentioning before, the code enforcement? Would they be cited? Would that be in the report that goes to the code enforcement board that you can?
So not every case would go to code enforcement board. Some things get taken care of before they're actually scheduled for hearing, which is the best case scenario. The ones that end up at code enforcement board means that they're still not in compliance, or they're not responsive, or they're trying to fight it. So those are kind of our bigger cases that are either problematic, have been going on for years, have been more troublesome.
So I think, Mr. Maxwell, that was sort of the idea is, they can get a COA and not execute it. And
Exactly.
That's their right.
Right.
But if it's get a COA and they don't do the code enforcement on these historic properties is what I think I'm more concerned about. It sounds like you are. And that would be, we could be able to source that out in the code enforcement agendas because there would be some sort of a violation on there.
Yeah. Yeah, it clearly will state what issues there are, each item, or if it's cited multiple times, it'll all be there.
And I'm sure that's a pretty comprehensive agenda. Is there a way to sort of sift through it for?
Yeah, so all the historic properties are identified next to each other. What I do to go through it is just kind of search the keywords for historic, and it'll go through the agenda items and be there.
Oh, great, we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, so that would just be
We
a
could just
link attached
circulate
to
it the same
email?
day, the same day, include that link to that agenda.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So Anna, you're saying that right now the city is just stopped because there's litigation going on, or, I mean, when you said that well, when I drive by, I mean, there's no roof on this. There's no,
Right.
you just look right through the windows to the sky.
Yeah, so the city wasn't going to pursue completing the renovation of the property. They were just stabilizing the property so that no further deterioration or, an imminent danger of collapse, anything like that. So the building is shored and stabilized to be able to then be, the work continued by either the property owner or a future owner.
Yes,
And
I'll
that's where
follow
the
that.
injunction and the hearing comes in, that will give the timelines that are going to be required by the court order to move forward with the building permits.
The city stepped in and actually did a lot of work on one of those.
Okay, any further questions on this item here? We've got some people that are willing, that would like to speak.
I don't have questions on that, but I have some questions on something else, so I'll wait till the end.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
we'll
let
do
them
further
speak.
discussion a little bit later. Thank you. Okay, so you ladies are here to speak about this. Please come up, and I know you were sworn in.
We don't need anybody to be sworn in on this, Mr. Maxwell. It's not a
No?
quasi-judicial
Okay,
item.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Please state your name.
Hi,
and
good
your
afternoon. My name is Amy Schwartz. I live at 1017 Hardy Road. I'd just like to say a couple of words. To me, the fact that the city, including historical preservation, the board, have allowed this to happen is really tragic. They've ignored this neglect for 8 years. We've been dealing with this. This was once a beautiful, historic 100-year-old home, and on the city's watch, it was allowed to be demolished by neglect. I have a main structural wall with the house, 1021. I've had a lot of damage, water pouring in, mold, and I'm going to get upset. I'm sorry. And even after the shoring up of the house to hopefully stop this intrusion and to prevent the house from falling down, I still have water coming in. I've contacted the city multiple times with videos of the water coming into my house after they shored it up. They have stopped responding to me. They ignore my emails. In fact, they have gone ahead and filed the permits, as Anna just said, signed off on it and given it back to the owner. And I still, even knowing that I still have water coming in my house. I had a structural engineer who came to my house and did a whole structural report. And after he did it, he was able to get the report from the city for the shoring up of 1021. And he contacted the city and said that the part of the roof that I'm joining on, the main wall, is not sufficiently shored up, and that if there's a storm, my roof is going to blow up with it. And I just feel that we as tax rate payers and residents of Coral Gables deserve better than this from the city. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, and I'm
basically
really
all.
sorry, and I think
Yeah,
all of us are very
it's been a long 8
unhappy
years.
about this.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Because that's really what you're going to need, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I'm
we do.
sorry it's come to this.
Yeah.
Because
It's
you have
just
a beautiful home.
Because we can't fix anything in our house because it's ongoing.
Yeah.
So my house is falling apart. I mean, and I, can't do anything. And also too, the structural engineer is going to have to take up all my historic floors at one point to see what's happening under there from that house. So I'm going to lose that. We've also applied for exploratory permits from the city over a month ago and haven't been permitted. So, yeah, we're not too happy, but but thank you for your time.
May I ask,
Well, I mean,
how
thank-
long have you lived at 1017?
I'm sorry, 2016, so I've lived here 9 years. Ms. Delgado bought the house, or the trust bought the house 10 months after me in May of 2017. And started demoing it then, and then this sporadic, whatever. Yeah,
We're all very sorry for you, what's
thank
going
you.
on.
Thank you.
Are there any
Appreciate it.
questions or any further discussion on this item?
My question was, I actually had a question before you came up, but I was waiting till you spoke. So with the city, as Stephanie mentioned, that they're
Anna,
finished with their
it's
scope,
really-
but obviously there's still issues in neighboring properties. Are they reopening that?
Reopening the permits?
Or reopening, I guess, the permit or the scope of work to address?
My understanding is that the city is in receipt of the report that the property owner just mentioned that they received today, and that the city manager was going to take a look at that report from a structural engineer. We just received it, I think, today or yesterday. And, but as of now, the city's work is complete on the project.
Yeah, the structural engineer emailed the city weeks ago, so. and so did we.
I can't
Amy.
hear you if you're not
Into the
speaking on the
mic.
microphone, yeah.
My structural engineer emailed the city weeks ago, as did I, sending them videos of the water still coming into my house.
So who are you emailing in the city? Are you
I'm
emailing the manager's office
I'm
or code
emailing,
enforcement?
Peter Iglesias,
Oh, well, there
Ernesto
you go.
Pino.
Please speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
We really need you to be on record.
Who's that? Manny Lopez, Doug Ramirez.
Ms. Spain, the right people are getting the information. It's my understanding a full report. Is it a full report or what was provided today?
I'm not
Something was
included in the
provided
emails.
today. Yeah.
I don't know.
Me either, but something was.
Yeah,
it's
my understanding, at least talking to the manager's office, was that a report was received today by the engineer regarding something with the calculations. I think they were going more.
My engineer or
Yes.
from, okay.
Your engineer, maybe they received that initial, I'm kind of going off because I'm not included in any of
Right.
those emails. But my discussion with the manager's office was that they received, I guess, the report initially stating that the engineering that was done, that the shoring was not sufficient enough.
Okay.
And then I believe the manager responded to the engineer, and then the engineer provided additional information today.
Okay.
And that was provided to this morning, I think,
Okay,
is what it
okay.
was. And so the manager hadn't, by the time I spoke to him, I spoke to him this afternoon before this meeting. They were going to try to look at it and get me some answers for tomorrow.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, and
And I do have your permit in my queue, and so that was, I think, because of the engineering, we were all trying to coordinate.
Okay, and just one other thing. I do believe that the Delgados have a mortgage on the.
Okay,
yeah,
I will say I'm not completely
look
sure
into it,
on
but
that.
I
Yes.
believe she does.
Yeah,
so
and
just-
and that's where our city attorney, not Stephanie, but Mr. Palenzuela will deal with all of that part.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry that
Oh, no
it's
problem.
taken so long.
My name is Stephanie Schmidt. I live at 1028 Cotoro Avenue. My home abuts to the back of 1021 Hardy. I was here at the last meeting on September 18th, and there was a lot of discussion with regard to the November 2021 Certificate of Appropriateness and the conditions that followed. And I have been trying to get answers since that time to a number of things on there that required the applicant to submit additional information for staff review. That is what I'm trying to get. I did send a letter to Ms. Parnas. She has responded. However, the response was really an explanation of what the permitting process is. And then she did redirect my request to be able to get me some final plans. Again, though, these plans will not articulate the answers I'm seeking from the certificate of appropriateness time. And I'll give you two examples. One was that the applicant needed to confirm what the intended use of that walkout porch that was open air coming from her second floor with a staircase going down to her new plunge pool. We still do not know what her intended use is. So here is a roof that is going to be, a terrace, I should say, that's going to be 4 feet away from my house. Is she going to put lawn furniture there? Is she going to have parties? Is she going to barbecue? What is she going to use that terrace for? We need to know that. That's one question I had that we have not been furnished the answer to. The second was, it was very clear by those minutes from 2021, and discussion has ensued here, that there needed to be discussion about the proposed impact, negative impact that this terrace had on the adjoining neighbors. Again, we share a wall, so that terrace will be right where my home ends, and the other adjoining neighbors are going to be able to see this and hear this. And no one has ever gotten back to us about who evaluated the potential negative impact and how this got cleared. No one asked us anything. No one asked to come see this from our vantage point, from our residents. So those are just two examples that it's great that I know now how the permitting works, and it's great that I'm going to get plans. But those plans will not articulate any answers from the 11 required submissions that the applicant needed to submit for further staff review. So can we get the comments from staff of the approval? Can we get the staff report to know how this ended up? This has been years. I have been sending letters for 8 years. And, you know, the city wants to say that they're operating in a transparent fashion, but this is not transparent. Ms. Spain, you were nice enough last time to say that Ms. Parnas should have the answers to this. I can't get the answers.
I don't know.
Any recommendation? I mean, we're entitled to these answers.
Ms. Parnas?
I can give you what I have, and my explanation to you, at least I was just trying to explain how the conditions work. So there are conditions within that staff report that include like the window products, the terrace, the terrace paving, the paving materials. There's a lot of finishes and things that happen through shop drawing approvals during the construction process. This didn't get through the construction process, right? So we never received a lot of the items that were outstanding in that list because the construction didn't occur to that point, to that extent. So anyone that moves forward with that construction, with those construction plans, will be required to still submit window product approval, paver materials, finishes for the pool. They'll have to get the COA for the pool. There's information about screening of the pool equipment. All of that, again, happens during those sub-permit approvals that happen during construction. The specifics about whether or not the impact of the adjoining neighbors, I think the reliance of our meetings being noticed, our neighbors being noticed due to the variances, so there was the mailings that went out, and neighbors attending this meeting, the November 2021 meeting would have been the time for those neighbors to explain if there was an impact, and if they had an impact, there was nothing appealed to the board or to the commission to show that there was a concern at the time. So staff moves forward with their review of the permit documents when they were submitted for issuance.
But was that a condition, the use of that terrace, was that one of the conditions listed in the COA report?
I believe it does have, the language that she had just written, it did say that, about the terrace. We don't have really purview over uses, so it's an interesting request, I understand. So but the furniture, I don't think there was a furniture plan or anything that was included in the building permit approval, but I'll confirm it when we get the documents from you that we're getting through the clerk's office because of the request.
Stephanie, were you ever notified about a neighborhood meeting?
I attended the November 21st meeting in 2021, and at that meeting, there were a number of conditions. As I mentioned, there were 11 of them that required additional information from the applicant. We were very vocal then to say we were concerned about the impact, but until the other information was provided by the applicant, it was difficult for us, and we keep hearing about this. We had 10 days. We didn't have all the information at that point in time to be able to respond within 10 days. Okay, so I mean that's immaterial. But the point is that this reminds me of a commercial application like you'd find at a restaurant. This open air terrace. I mean, if we start having that within the whole village, and we've been very explicit to talk about security and privacy and all the other things. And I've got to say, if that goes through with the current or future owner and someone falls off that balcony, it will be on my property. Someone will be injured. So, I mean, there's, and
Well,
the
no,
ramification, excuse me for one moment.
Yes, I
The
apologize.
ramifications of that spiral staircase getting to all the walls and somebody walking throughout the whole historic village and possibly robberies, I mean, these are things that are significant to us. We cannot get answers. We are entitled to these answers.
Great.
So the other thing I want to mention is that it is our understanding that the property has been for sale since August. There is a contract on the property, okay? It's also our understanding that in the last few days, we have not seen that any lien was ever put on the property for the shoring. I would like to know how much the shoring cost the city of Coral Gables, because this is our taxpayer dollars. Do we
so-
know?
I do not have a final number for the shoring, but when the shoring invoice is created, that will be there will be a lien placed on the property as per Mr. Iglesias' email to you and the other neighbors.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, it was to Mr. Diaz at the time.
Okay, so then the fines that have been placed on this, do we know what the total fines have been?
They are just above 200,000 right now. And
So-
they're incurring daily fines of about $2,000 a day, and I think there's an additional 500. But again, those numbers are
So those fines are going to
are daily
continue
fines.
in
Those will continue throughout this process.
the process, meaning what?
Till the property is in compliance, typically. So it depends on whether the property changes hands, and then there's a new owner, there's a different way to to mitigate those fines if work is continuing and they're moving forward with the project as per the injunction or per the agreement that's done with the city and the property owner, any property owner, new or old.
So are there plans that have been signed off and issued for the project? Or is it just
Yeah, so the
demolition?
building, that's what I was saying, the
plans?
building permit plans were issued
They
in
were issued.
2023.
Yeah.
And so that's the plans that would then move forward with the new owner, or can be renewed or transferred.
Even though the
Which
work
would be the
has-
plans that you had
Even
reviewed
though
here.
those 11 items weren't,
Right,
I mean,
because those 11
some of the, I realize some of
Yes.
them are, surfaces and all that stuff, that'll come
Yeah.
later. But
We went through that list the other day, because we actually had someone that was looking into purchasing the property. And we went through the 11 items, and a lot of them are shop drawing approvals. It's working with,
I get
there
that.
was 3
The only one I'm
alone.
concerned about is
Right.
the one.
But those
on
are
the-
items that, again, wouldn't stop us from issuing a building permit because they're during construction process, so they're shop drawing approvals. 3 of the items speak to just the ironwork of the house.
I get it.
Yeah.
But the only one I'm concerned is this open terrace, which I
The
can't.
terrace issue, I think, went in under the impact thing, the joining neighbor impact,
Yeah.
which was approved because there was no appeal and nobody made a
Oh.
motion to go through that showed that there was.
So
And there was neighbors, and there were neighbors at
The
that
meeting
meeting.
here was advertised, and it's tough.
Oh.
So is that saying that the city will not look at this for the negative impact on the neighbors because we did not, within that 10 days, say something other than what we said at the meeting, contingent on waiting on the applicant submitting? And I know there's been a change of staff, and there's been all kinds of things that have happened over the last 8 years, because I know you weren't here at that time. But the point is that, this is impacting our quality of life, our privacy, our values of our home, our security, all the other things, and it just goes on and on and on. This property owner, the trust, the individual, has been given so many allowances that now we are fearful that these dollars for the shoring and her fines will be forgiven by the city, because this has just been very, very ongoing for her, and the partiality that's been shown. We live there. She's never lived there. We live there, and the permits just kept rolling and rolling, and all we've been told are 2 things. There was a glitch in the system, and the processes that the city of Coral Gables had were not very strong, and now it's been corrected. Now we're suffering from that. So we need answers. I mean, there's got to be some staff comments to this. She was required at that time to submit, I have it and I sent it to you, to submit additional information for staff review. Did she ever do it? Or did that get waived and she just kept getting the permits?
The process that's why I kind of explained of how those conditions are met, that they're worked through the sub-permit process and shop drawing approval process. And so those items did not get to our approval because they didn't even get to that point of the work. So they were probably in the first 10% of this project. They just started the demo and then stopped.
Yeah.
No other work was done at that time after that.
Ms.
So
Bennett,
paving materials wouldn't have been picked.
Well, I'm not concerned about the paving
I know, I'm
materials.
just
I'm not
saying the-
concerned about the surface of the plunge pool. I'm not concerned about any of those. I'm concerned about the two things that I have brought up today. Again, I've done it in writing. I say it again here. We do not get answers. And we are entitled to those answers. Are they nowhere to be found? Did no one take it into consideration and just let it pass? I mean, something has to give here. We want answers. This impacts our life. This impacts our day-to-day life.
Did they need to get a variance for that?
Unfortunately, this is not the board for that. I mean, you've seen what we do.
Did they need to get a variance for
You
that?
understand where we are and how we operate. Okay, as a quasi-judicial board, we look at just the information in front of us like a judge. And so on the follow-up, I mean, that really goes back to the city, okay, and to the other departments. And not only do we hear you, Ms. Pernis hears you, Ms. Throckmorton hears you, okay, go talk to, I mean, you need to have a conversation with the manager. I mean, have a personal conversation with him, and maybe you want to bring your attorney. So, I mean, these things have evolved into a legal matter, and, and everybody's in a very bad position. So, I remember we looked at this property, when we did the permit, and there were a lot of questions about it at that time too. So,
You all had a lot of questions at the time that the owner presented the conditions that she did, because the comment was that no one had ever seen as many as the day she presented them.
yeah, but unfortunately, once it passes here, that's it. Okay, we don't see it again.
I understand, and I do appreciate the comment that was made a short time ago saying that the follow-up obviously did not exist because you all did not know, as the years were going by, that this property was deteriorating. No one brought that to your attention.
Yeah, we're not the code enforcement board.
No, but I'm not saying for code enforcement. I'm saying just to the preservation side of this home that has just deteriorated. But once again, I sent letters. Why didn't it get any place?
We haven't seen them that I
I would
know
have
of.
liked to have
not.
known.
Yeah.
I know I would have liked to have known. I was shocked. I ran into Chip Withers in Whole Foods. He didn't know, and he lives very close by you all, and he was really upset about it.
I mean,
So we
it's
all are.
clearly a lack of oversight and irresponsibility, but, we want answers. And still, if it's not, designated what that terrace can be used for, someone needs to ask that question, what the intended use of that terrace is. I mean, are you still not able to ask the applicant that?
We could still ask the applicant that. I just don't think it's the purview of this board.
Someone needs to
They
ask
made the
that.
determination that didn't impact
I
the
mean,
historic significance.
I have to say that if this is what starts to happen within that village or any other village, and the openings of everyone's backyard is a porch that everyone is going to walk out to and entertain on and have music and dancing, this is far from what Mott Schmidt had intended for this village. It's shameful. So I would like to get some answers.
One
That's all I
last
ask for.
question. I know you've been to the commission. What did they tell you to do? Did they tell you to come to us?
No one has really said anything, quite honestly. There's really not been any direction to get answers. And I'm not here today seeking answers. I'm here today to voice that someone is obligated to find the answers for us.
Sorry, when was this discussed
I know
at
that you spoke
commission?
at the commission. I mean, I know some of the neighbors spoke at a commission meeting,
There's been
late in the
numerous
summer?
meetings that, numerous meetings.
the
and
code
numerous
enforcement.
meetings.
But they're the ones that really, can make the city manage.
I just say it's been a failure to report to you all over many years, a failure, a huge failure.
I believe the meeting that you're speaking of, Mr. Diaz had clarified last time, was that he spoke at a code enforcement board meeting.
No, it was.
So, yeah, he wasn't at,
I mean, if you all have any particular suggestions, I'm open.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just as you know, there's pending litigation on this matter. There's also a pending code enforcement board case and a pending construction regulation board case. To the extent that there's appeals and things that go to the city commission, we always like to make sure that the city commission is aware. Obviously, they're aware of what's going on here, but to the extent things ever come to them in any matter, we always try to make sure that they're able to hear those things in a fair and unbiased manner. It's my understanding there has not been an item placed on the city commission agenda about this either, though, as Ms. Pernas pointed out, there have been multiple code enforcement, construction regulation board hearings. And we do have
pending litigation on this case where the city proactively filed a lawsuit regarding this?
So we all have the same common goal. We want to see this house restored. We certainly don't want to appear to be blocking any future owner who is going to have a lot to contend with. But, you know, we as taxpayers and residents that are there need some answers. So I don't know where they are, but they must be out there unless staff just didn't do the review. I don't know what to say. And I don't want to keep coming back here and saying the same thing.
Mr. Garcia-Ponce.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a question for Ms. Bettis. I'm hopeful that the code enforcement agendas that come to us will hopefully help us in the future to understand what's happening. But I did have a question with regards to this matter, and I think you did it for the previous meeting or the meeting prior to. Could you at least email me, I don't know if the rest of the board wants it, the approved COA of the November meeting and then the subsequent meeting minutes of that?
Okay.
Just
For the November hearing of,
for the approval of the
Right.
initial SCOA and then the subsequent meeting minutes for that. Because as Mr. Maxwell, I also remember the meeting, but I would like to see how it was recorded and specifically how the conditions were included and if there are any variants, just again for my own
Yes, there were multiple
information.
variances.
Yeah, and I think that
Could you
would,
send that to the board?
Yes, I'll send it to the board.
and I think that would help us refamiliarize with the specifics of those things. And Ms. Benes is correct in saying that the conditions are usually left to staff with regards to things that happen after they leave the board, but they're, I just want to be comfortable that I understand if there was a condition or two that may have been different than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing this to our attention.
So could
Okay,
I
is
ask
there
a
any-
question? I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Given the time that's lapsed and obviously the concern about the project scope of work, with the new owner, assuming that it's going to go that route, would there be potentially a request to do a different scope of work if, or they could honor the same permit?
The new owner can do what they please. So they can come in and do a restoration project, they can come in and pursue the permits that have already, it can be transferred to them, or they can change that scope of work. So if they want to pursue that and maybe remove or include different work from that, then depending on what that work would be, it may return to you all or it may not. So it's at the hands of the property owner. We can't make
They have an
anyone do
approved
anything.
building permit, so they can build it. They have an approval for it, if they choose,
Or they can change it.
or they can change it.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, let's, anything else? Otherwise, we'll move
I
on.
just have not about this, but I have something else.
Did you have
very-
something
very
else, Ms.
quickly.
Spain?
What's happening with the Biltmore lobby?
That's
Thank
the
you,
quick one?
ladies.
Yes, I mean, is anything happening or not?
Yes, it
There really
has.
hasn't been too much progression. The last submittal that they gave me, we rejected because it wasn't doing, it didn't satisfy the needs that we had been
Has
asking.
that gone to the code enforcement board at all, or any type of code enforcement action been taken against the Biltmore Hotel because of
At
that?
this time, no,
They've taken
because
down
we also are working with them on about, I want to say I had 15 permits in my queue for other work that they're legalizing also. So they're working on getting there and continue to have discussions with us, but we're not to that point yet.
Why?
Why? Because they're working with us and we're trying to satisfy, well, we're also the property owners, but I think we need to realize that as the landlords of the building, that they need to come into compliance with everything and we're focused on the lobby because it's the most visible, but there was other things done throughout the entire property.
Have they been red tagged for the work that they did, so they can't do anything else?
They were red tagged for the ground, yes. I don't know if I believe the red tag was removed.
So that they could proceed with the
With the other-
legalization of
the
certain
legalization
other
of the
work.
permitted work that we're working on, we're getting through.
But don't they need to bring you drawings for what they're going to put back there?
So that we've had proposals from them that I have worked with city architect and our staff and I've rejected. The proposals, when we've had discussions about what our expectations are for the space, that it should, satisfy our needs for the, complement the historic
Is that-
character of the
Does that come to
building.
this board? Because the interiors, I think, are designated on a national.
Parts
Are
of
you
the
going to send
interior
that
are-
to
Don't believe,
us?
no. I'll double check with the process, but
You
at
will
this
keep
time
us
there was,
apprised of the situation.
yes, yes.
Thank you.
And this happened, I mean, my last month and a half or 2 months here that I rejected their last proposal.
Ms. Spain, they've taken
Blame it
down
on
all
me.
those ugly mirrors, though.
Pardon me?
They've taken down the ugly mirrors, I can
Are
tell
they
you.
taking the mirrors down?
Yeah,
Yes,
'cause
they
I
took down,
What a
they
pity.
did
I
some
was
things. They took
hoping
down the
Elvis would
mirror,
show
they
up.
put back some of the trim, they, little things here and there, but they're also working on the legalization of a lot of other parts of the building
It's
that
not
we
up to
want.
par, but let's just say this, the ship's not sinking.
Right.
Okay, let's go on to the next item here, which is,
On our radar, elections.
Well, before we do that, one more Biltmore-related item, the update on the gondola building. I know there was a presentation by Mr. Silva at the last meeting, and
Yep, so I had pulled the board about a letter to go out to the state for, to see if the board would be interested in supporting the idea behind the commission's motion at their meeting to relocate the gondola building actually by the tennis center. The majority that I received were against it, so that's it. The city commission will be sending a letter to the state requesting a further review of whether or not the gondola building could go next to the tennis center versus down by the maintenance facility, which is the proposal that you all saw that day, using that section of the code. So they're still using that section of the code, and so we've recommended, but we're.
And the
because
commission
it's-
did approve the location.
right, but it.
Yeah.
So with a request to see if there was a last-ditch effort to
So it'll
relocate,
be
but
maintenance
it was
facility
approved.
location,
Was
or
approved.
if the state will consider the tennis center.
So they are going through with that request.
Yes.
at least.
I'd like to make a recommendation and have it discussed here very quickly, is that if it's moved or if it's demolished, either way, that none of the historic elements, architectural elements from the building be incorporated into the new building, that they be copied and replicated, and that existing architectural elements be saved by the city, and we can use them as landscape elements in other parts, like
Mr.
courtyard
Maxwell, I
out here.
believe the design approval that you all issued, that COA, had a lot of those conditions about preserving certain architectural features, and the commission discussion was about the location, not about the design approval that you all approved previously. It's not going to be a new building. I
But
guess.
it will be a new
No,
building.
it's, yes, it's
I mean, it's a new building, but I don't
It'll be
know
a-
what you're talking about.
So they're replicating, they used,
building.
But if
staff
it's-
already went out on site and they identified multiple pieces that were gonna be used to create replicas and to be restored, or to be
Right.
stored and reused.
Yeah, I was here for that, and
Right, but I'm saying staff has already done that field trip exercise, and then whatever else we can do, we'll try to work with them, because
Okay,
there's
but-
other pieces that are just too
But he's
heavy.
asking something separate.
right. I
Yes, to
since-
maintain
I
and
mean,
then reuse
when
them
we
as-
reviewed
yes.
this, Ms. Throckmorton, we reviewed this, it was site-specific for the existing site.
Yes.
Okay? And so given the existing site and the historical nature of that site next to the water, then what the board came up with at that time would be appropriate. However, if it's relocated and completely reconstructed, which it would be, okay, why incorporate these elements with it? I mean, it's a whole new building. You can copy them, but keep these as, this is part of the heritage of that site. In other words, yes, you rebuild it, yes, you copy it, but you keep these and say, this was the original building, okay? It's kind of like, baby shoes in a certain sense. The kid's grown up. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a comment that Mr. Silva did an excellent job.
Oh, yes.
And it's unfortunate that the statement of the historic board wasn't honored, but could we get a copy of the letter that's going to be sent to the state, the commission is signing
Yes.
on to? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, they're having their meetings here. I think they've already started having meetings, on review material. So, but this would come back up and have to go to staff, I think, and probably be voted on,
For the state?
yeah, by the
Review?
state, they would have to have the board come back, I think. But
I don't think so. It's just the location part. They've had multiple meetings with them in the past about it. It was the state's recommendation. I don't know if you remember a few meetings ago when
Right.
Hermes had come, that the state had recommended keeping it anywhere along the waterway. So that's where they had looked at kind of shifting it around.
Yeah, but there's a swale that comes up from the waterway, right to where they're going to put it.
So the discussions have been just at the staff level, not having to go back for review from the.
All right, but if you would kindly convey, the kind of sentiments like that, I think it would really be good. One of the things that's really important is that, our city is really comprised of a series of pre-made architectural elements, pylons, different things like that, And so incorporating pieces of historic buildings into landscapes, particularly public landscapes, is a beautiful element. And when Ms. Throckmorton goes back to the University of Virginia, she's going to see that the capitals from the rotunda annex and the original rotunda were saved and put into the gorgeous gardens.
Mr. Maxwell, it sounds like you're asking staff to do something that the board has already voted on. So if you want to change the board's vote, we have to have a new vote.
I can't change the board's vote.
Okay, so then that's not a direction to staff.
It's not a directive. Okay. It's a suggestion.
Just clarification. Well, not a suggestion because we voted on it. It's done.
I understand that. It's a discussion.
Okay. I did have a question with regards to the letter being sent by the city commission to the state. Is the Historic Preservation Board's last 3 recommendations to not move it going to go along with that letter? Can it be?
Are you kidding?
An addenda, a copy, appendix to? Can it be referred to? But it's going to the same state agency that has.
You can always make that request of whoever has sending out the letter, but I think it will be reflective of the commission's direction rather than this board's direction.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there was no appetite for that. I think if you saw the meeting, it was very clear. We did our best, and they were not keeping it in the same location, right? I mean, it was pretty clear. It was unanimous against, right?
How many times has it been, we don't really want it here in this location? So we've seen this quite a bit. Okay.
So, and they took action. The action was to put it where Public Works is suggesting, on that corner near Bird Road. So if their appeal to the state to move it to the center fails, it's going there. Done deal.
Thank you.
Okay, we have other new business. I believe we've got to elect a chair, co-chair, and
Chair and vice chair.
and
Chair and
I think
vice
that's it. So then we can go home and warm up, build a fire.
If anyone wants a refresher of the process, if we just would take a nomination and then a motion and a second and approve a chair and then a vice chair. As you all know, the vice chair serves in the absence of the chair, and the chair is here to run the meetings generally.
Okay, so we're open for discussion and nominations.
I nominate Mr. Maxwell as chair.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Oh, is he accepting?
I was going to say, doesn't he have to accept, and then you have to, does anybody else wish to nominate anybody?
Voluntold.
Yeah, well, if nominated, I will serve.
Wow. You should run for office.
I'm not Lyndon Johnson.
All in favor?
I'd like to throw my name forward for vice chair unless Mr. Silva wants to stay in that position. If somebody would like to nominate me.
Mr. Silva, not in a negative way, because you have so studiously and wonderfully served this as both chair and vice chair. Let us give Ms. Dene a chance at this. I think that she would do wonderful.
Mr. Chair, if
Did
we
we
could
vote?
take one at a time,
Yeah.
if we could take one at a time, I think it's appropriate. We have a motion on the floor in a second, so if we could address that before a vice chair, but I appreciate always a volunteer. Yeah, so I'll just say we don't need to take a roll call. All in favor? This is for Mr. Maxwell to remain as chair for an additional, do we do a 1-year term or a 2-year term, Anna? 1-year term.
Yeah, we're doing 1-year terms.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now we can take nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Dene.
Does Mr. Silva not want to continue doing this?
I'd be happy to continue. I'd be happy to step back. I'm
You're such an agreeable
at the will of the
person.
board.
I was going to nominate Ms. DeMay to be the chair, so if she wants to be vice chair, that's okay with me.
Thank you.
Was that a second, Mr.?
That could be a second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
None.
Thank you. Congratulations. I hope I will see you all tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We will train you on being chair and vice chair.
All right, and we have a motion to adjourn. So moved.
It's not 6:40.
I didn't know about
I gotta get going, get ready to travel. I'm going to Jacksonville. My oldest daughter lives there, and so I'm celebrating my birthday with her. Today is my birthday, and last year it was my birthday on our board meeting as well, but we met on Wednesday. And so you may remember